You're tuning in to the Raised by Rentals program. This podcast will contain strong language and spoilers for decades-old media properties. Join us. Welcome, everybody. This is the podcast where we examine pop culture franchises of the VHS era and improv news stories, unscripted like we're off our meds, to imagine how we might improve our favorite movies, TV, and games. I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
And we were raised by rentals. Mike, I hope you killed a turkey and ate it.
Oh, I did. I ate it some good.
Well, happy Thanksgiving. We didn't get a chance to talk on Thanksgiving. And my holiday got a little bit messed up because we did our Thanksgiving celebration on Tuesday instead of Thursday. And then I was off for work for a couple of days. So I don't even know what fucking day it is today. But anyway, happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you. Yeah, no, it's same with me. I had to work Thanksgiving night. And so we celebrated on Black Friday. Where, and long story short, but my sister's husband, like his family, they do like a big Thanksgiving get together. So she always goes there for Thanksgiving. So a lot of times my family will get together the following day so they can join us, you know, for dinner as well. And I always end up having to work anyway, so it's no skin off my back. So Jess and Caleb went to her cousin's house on Thanksgiving to celebrate. I just slept in and had like cold sandwiches for dinner. And then, you know, went to work. But it's funny that I celebrated my Thanksgiving on Black Friday, considering why we're here today.
That's right. It's right, because it's also Black Friday. I mean, it was a couple days ago, but for us, it's the Black Friday episode of Raised by Rentals.
That's right.
When we were planning out our schedule for the rest of the year, well, we did the same thing last year where it starts to become important that we sync up for like holidays and specials. At a certain point of the year around the summertime, it's like, okay, we have to do the summer special. We got to do something for school. We got to do something for Halloween, something, you know, big for Halloween, maybe Thanksgiving, maybe Christmas. And at first we were kind of thinking like, maybe we'll do a Thanksgiving episode. I don't know. Like, we'll see if something, you know, comes to mind. I'm really glad we did, because that Pauly Shore episode was fucking crazy.
That was so much fun. That is definitely up there for me, along with Cobra 2,
Yes,
Operation Miami Beach, and the Slasher Camp specials. So I really had a lot of fun with the Pauly Shore one, and I did not expect it to go in the way it did, but I'm very happy that it went the way it went.
Yeah, 100%. I thought it was going to be an absolute train wreck, to be honest. I was like, it's okay. We'll just get through the Thanksgiving episode. We historically have not had like the best episodes in November. Like, no offense to our guests and the people who like those shows, but they weren't always like our highest ratings, you know?
Right.
So I wasn't really expecting much. It was just kind of like the lull between Halloween and Christmas. We got to do something. And we were like, fuck it, let's just do the most ridiculous thing we can think of and just, you know, have some fun with it. And I actually got some really, really good feedback from people, you know, who listen to the show. Shout out to Corey from So It's Come to This, a Simpsons Family podcast, who apparently really liked the show so much that she scared somebody at the gym.
Yes.
So yeah, and we had some other feedback as well. So yeah, that was a really, really good one. I got to check the downloads, but I remember it being a pretty good premiere as well. So yeah, I was super excited about it. I listened to it twice after I spent a bunch of time editing it. So, you know, I was just enjoying the wackiness of it. But yeah, so we were looking at our schedule, and it's like, okay, there's this spot between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and just like with the Halloween episodes, it becomes like, well, what are we going to do? Do we want to do like a second holiday special? Do we want to just pick something from our list of ideas and do like a quote unquote normal episode just to throw something in there? But of course, with Black Friday, even though this isn't coming out on Black Friday, that was last week, we're like, oh, fuck it. Like, why not? It's kind of like a weird holiday between, you know, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like, shit, let's just do something with that. Especially since I feel like when you say Black Friday, when you think about like a story, like a movie or a book, I feel like there should be some kind of like a famous horror movie or horror story about Black Friday. It seems like so obvious. Right. That while there are some that exist, there aren't really any that like stand out as being really any good. Am I wrong?
No, no, not at all. In fact, like, and I know you and I had talked about this a while ago, but there was the movie I want to say from 2021 with Bruce Campbell and Devon Sawa, Michael Jai White. Like, it was a star-studded cast. Like, there was a lot of good actors in it. It was a great concept, where it's like, oh, it's a horror movie that takes place on Black Friday, and oh, the shoppers are gonna be like real zombies this time. Ah, ha, ha, isn't that so funny? And everything from the pitch, like the elevator pitch for that movie, is like, oh fuck yes, I am in. And
Hell
I
yeah.
rented it, and I'm like, I can't say that it's done badly. Like, the acting is solid, the effects are solid. There's nothing that is just like, wow, this is, terribly done. It was just boring, which is so sad. Like, that's almost worse than it being bad, because there was no substance to really get excited about. Like, they had this fantastic premise and great cast, and they just kind of dropped the ball. And it was like, I can't say it was bad, but I can't say it was good, and that's almost worse,
Yeah.
So it's like, it bugs me to this day that we don't have a solid horror movie, particularly a slasher movie. Like, I feel like Black Friday, it summons up the feeling of a crazy slasher to me. It kind of has that Black Christmas vibe to it, like, where it's like, we're gonna take this thing and turn it into like a blood and guts, moment. And I'm just, it always bothered me that we didn't have
Yeah.
one like that.
I totally agree. I didn't even bother watching that movie as much as I do like some of the folks in the cast. Of course, Bruce Campbell and Devon Sawa and Michael Jai White, like you mentioned. I normally would love to watch a movie with those guys. That's like a no-brainer. Of course, I'm going to see that. But I never bothered because right after it came out, I just heard nothing. Or if I did hear anything, it was like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
So I just kept bumping it down. My I didn't even actually put it on my list of movies to watch, but just sort of like my mental checklist of like, yeah, I'll watch that someday. And then I just completely forgot that it existed to the point when you and I were talking about this episode, like trying to plan something, I had to go like look up. Well, there's got to be some movie called Black Friday, right? Like, it's like you mentioned, like Black Christmas. Like, there's probably multiple movies called Black Friday. Let me go look up what has existed before so we can avoid overlapping the existing ideas, or maybe there's some movie we can watch and come up with like an improved remake. But really, while there have been a couple of movies called Black Friday, again, none of them really stand out except for maybe that one from 2021, which I completely forgot even existed. And then I was like, you know what, I don't even want to watch it, like, I don't care.
Right. And yeah, it's really, I mean, I wouldn't say that people are going to hate it overall, but I have yet to meet someone that thought it was good. Everyone's just kind of had the meh reaction that I've talked to. So I think that would be your reaction too. You'd probably just be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I watched the trailer and I didn't change my opinion at all. Like, yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Yep.
I feel like I saw the movie. I read the Wikipedia description. And I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Right.
Unfortunately, Bruce Campbell, I feel like is in too many movies like that. Like, he has a lot of small parts, and you think it's going to be fun because Bruce Campbell's fucking awesome, but he's in a lot of movies that are kind of like, ugh, why'd you do that, man? Like, you could do so much better.
You really needed that paycheck, I guess, Bruce.
Yeah. But hey, man, some guys just that's all they care about. Like, just write me a check and show me when to show up, I guess.
Yep.
So yeah, to me, I was sort of baffled that there isn't already some kind of a classic horror story. Not even necessarily a movie, but even like a book or a TV show or something. Like, what is the Black Friday scary story? And it doesn't really seem to exist, which is weird because in real life, it's a horrific phenomenon.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
And for anyone who could, I don't know if anyone could possibly not know what we're talking about, but just to kind of like set the stage for what we mean when we say Black Friday, we're talking about the Friday after Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday. So the next day is Black Friday, and it's considered the first day of the Christmas shopping season. And that traditionally, at least in America, is when a lot of retailers would have their big sales, their big Christmas sales start on Friday. And anyone who wants to get a good deal on a hot button or high dollar item before Christmas, you got to get out there, get to the store early, and get in and grab it. And what that devolved into, at least for most of my lifetime, was crowds of people camping outside of department stores and malls, from the wee hours of the morning, fighting and jostling to be the first people at the door, and then the staff of the store opening the door and being trampled and pushed by a mob, a wave of people, rushing into the store, and then
Yep.
people literally fighting over like Tickle Me Elmos and Cabbage Patch dolls.
Abso-fucking-lutely. I used to work at Media Play in the 90s, and I worked several Black Fridays there. And I'll let you all know a little secret. I don't know if they still do this. I'm imagining most stores still do. But we would have the doorbuster sales. And it would be like, back in the 90s, it was like this big freaking, Samsung stereo or something like that, where it's like, it's an 8-disc CD changer. And, it would be like doorbuster sale, $59.99. The thing's normally $200. There would be one unit sent to Western New York.
Oh,
Not
God.
one per store. There would be like, okay, either the Elmwood store is going to get it, the Transit Road store is going to get it, the Boulevard store is going to get it, or the Military Road store is going to get it. Who's going to get the doorbuster item? And it would never come to us. We were the one in Niagara Falls. And so we'd have the circular that would claim this item is on sale. We'd be watching as the crowd was piling up outside the glass doors. And I remember asking my manager, so what are we going to do if people come and ask me about this? Because I worked in music at the time. And he was like, just tell them it's sold out. I'm like, to who? They're all outside. And he's like,
Exactly.
Just tell them it's sold out. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to get hit. And, sure enough, as soon as the door opened, I had people lining up in music wanting the fucking stereo. And it's like, I'm sorry, it's already sold out. And then, of course, the same thing. Who bought it? And then they're blaming the employees for buying it. It's like, no, corporate didn't send them. So,
Yeah.
they put employees in horrible situations.
They really did. And in my experience, I never worked at like a big box store like a Target or a Walmart, but I did work retail in the mall.
Mhm.
And luckily I never worked in a store that had those types of doorbuster sales, but I did work in a store in 1998 that sold Furbies. And it was one of the few places in Western New York that advertised that we were going to have them in stock. I worked at this store called Weir Entertainment that is actually no longer in business. And as soon as we pulled up those, the mall gates, like the garage doors you open up in front of the store. Yeah, we just jumped out of the way and people rushed into the store. And we just put them all up at the front counter. So if you're going to come in the store, come to the front counter, grab a Furby, and you're already at the register. Like the idea was, let's prevent people from getting into fist fights between the display and the cash register, because you would see that at other stores, like
we had
literal fist fights.
Yeah, we actually had that over Furbies at Media Play. It was one of the few times that I watched the cops come and arrest two people, because it was two middle-aged women that got into a fist fight because there was a limit of, I want to say it was 2 Furbies per person, and this one lady was trying to buy 3. And this lady was like, well, I didn't get my second one. And they started arguing. And then it came to blows right in front of the cash register. And yeah, no one got their Furbies that day because they got arrested. So.
Yeah, that was a weird phenomenon too, because it fizzled and died so quickly, at least in my experience, because I remember taking returns.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there were quite a few, because they also didn't work that well, and they were either be faulty or too hard to figure out. And we took a lot of returns, and then eventually we just had a whole little pyramid of them on the little island in the middle of the store where the cash registers were. We had a whole little pyramid there of returned clearanced Furbies that sat there for months.
Yep. We did the same thing. Like, we had to destroy a lot of returned merchandise, particularly toys. We would send the ISBN number back to the warehouse. So we would get refunded. But one of my jobs was to help destroy some of the merchandise so people couldn't resell it. And my manager at the time, I know I've told this story on the Boogeyman's Closet, but my manager at the time in shipping and receiving, he was skinning the Furbies. He was taking a box cutter and skinning their pelts. and he had a box of Furby pelts in the back room that he kept saying he was going to make a vest out of one day. I don't think he ever got enough to do that. But we also had a box of beaks and eyes. It was a creepy thing. But the best part about it is we had a skinned Furby that still had its beak and stuff, but it was all busted up. It had been hit with a hammer a few times. So it was broken, but it was on. It still interacted. And our other manager saw it, thought it was hilarious, and brought it up to the front register to scare the cashiers. He put it on the little island behind the cashiers, and there was customers cashing out. Well, there was a mother and her child, and the Furby decided to turn on, because it was those motion sensitive things, because it was already on. And it just goes like, tat, 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 tat. And it was like twitching, and like one little stick that was its ear was like rapidly wiggling, and the other one wasn't, because that's where it was hit with a hammer. And the kid just started bawling his eyes out. It was so fucked up, but my God, it was funny.
Oh, I love that. Oh man. Yeah, and
so,
you hear horror
so many Furby stories.
Well, you'd hear horror stories like that all the time. Not about Furbies necessarily, but just horror stories about Black Friday. I remember when the Phantom Menace came out. That actually wasn't Black Friday, because it came out in spring, I think, of '99. And I remember I worked at the store, and We Entertainment was like, if you can picture like the Disney store, but it wasn't just Disney. So they sold Disney and Warner Brothers and lots of like Simpsons and Scooby Doo, and I Love Lucy for some reason was like really big, and we had a big movie theater screen in the back, and they would play Disney or like Pixar movies or whatever, and kids movies, and we were encouraged to get the kids to like hang out and watch the movies so their parents would stay longer and shop, and so it was kind of a weird mixture of like all different types of properties. But we were also one of the stores that advertised getting the Star Wars The Phantom Menace merch in, and we had a huge crowd of people when we opened the store. But ironically, it was the most polite and like well-mannered mob I've ever really come across, because people just came in and they went right for the displays and came right to the register, and nobody was fighting and nobody was arguing. You could definitely tell there were some people who were disappointed, but like they kind of kept it to themselves for the most part. And it was just people who were super excited, and all the chatter was like, oh man, I can't wait to see it, because it was going to come out the next day, I remember. So this was like like the early release stuff, and no one had any idea who Jar Jar was. And we sold so much of that merchandise, completely sold out. And then immediately the next day, it was like all the Jar Jar stuff started coming back. Oh man, we had so many of Jar Jar like water bottles and stuff like that, and like coffee mugs. But yeah, we didn't really destroy things at that store, but I definitely destroyed some Jar Jar stuff back then. But I never worked in a big box store, so I never got to experience the dangerous mob, of people just rushing in, like the running of the bulls or something, at like a Walmart or a Target or someplace like that. But you would see it on the news, and there'd be news coverage for days about crazy incidents, like you said, people getting arrested, even people getting killed and trampled, and employees getting trampled. And it's been a sitcom trope for years of doing an episode about Thanksgiving or Christmas, and they'll have somebody the Winslow's kid works at the big box store and comes home and tells all the horror stories about Black Friday or whatever. I feel like, and that's why I think it's such a weird thing that there isn't like a big horror movie or a big event or even an action movie that kind of centers around this phenomenon in America of people just killing each other to get a good deal on a Christmas present.
Right.
I think something like Jingle All the Way takes the idea of like fighting over a toy, but you don't see this event where they're like, killing each other and fighting and getting into fistfights and stuff. But it seems like the perfect setting for a horror story. And because one doesn't exist, and because the title Black Friday hasn't really been used well, we figured, hey, this is the perfect opportunity for us to improve something by making up our own story. Forget the movies that exist, the one from 2021, or there's even a Boris Karloff one from the 40s. I don't care. Forget all that. We're going to come up with a story for a horror movie called Black Friday that is actually about this horrific shopping event.
Yes. And one of the things I would immediately like to say is we need to set it either in the 80s or 90s, when the phenomena was at its peak. Because now, as we talked off the air, this past Black Friday that just happened, no one seemed to care because everyone was shopping online. So
Yeah.
I feel like the phenomena is finally dying. Like people are not rushing out to stores and fighting with one another to get the sales. Plus, let's be honest. I mean, a lot of people are feeling the pinch of the constant rising prices. So people aren't, out there going crazy for deals right now. They're like, screw you. You got deals on rent. It's like you got deals on groceries because fuck your big box stores. I know I could do with some deals on groceries and shit personally.
I mean, I guess we can understand from that same mentality that there might be folks out there who, need that good deal, right? They need to get to the store on Black Friday and get that good sale. But now I feel like it's easier too because, there's so many stores that are offering pre-Thanksgiving and post-Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday sales and all these things. It's like, I don't even know what's on sale anymore because I get so many emails and so many ads on social media and so many people talking about it and flyers in the mail of all of these different sales going on, to the point where I'm like, look, it's almost Christmas, so I'm just going to shop online and I'm probably going to find a good deal or a coupon code because everybody's throwing this shit at me. I can just go and check my email trash, for like, I guarantee you this online retailer emailed me something like a week ago that I just didn't even look at, so I'll go look.
No, that's 100% true. Like I did like 90% of my Christmas shopping this week online, between like Amazon and a bunch of the small like vendors that I buy from, like art toys and like prints and stuff. Everyone was doing sales. So it was like, oh, let me buy from this shop and let me grab from this shop. And ooh, this Etsy shop has a coupon code. And, it was like a lot of that. But it's like, I pretty much crossed most of the people off my Christmas list in the last like 4 days, just because I was able to find so many deals online. I didn't step foot in the fucking store.
Yeah, it's funny too because I've actually never gone to a Black Friday sale in person. When I was a kid, my mom would be like, "Fuck no, I don't care how cheap stuff is. Well, I'm not going and dealing with those crowds. That's not going to happen." So we would just watch it on TV and marvel at the spectacle of it.
I only did once. It was 2001. I'll never forget this. It was it was after I had basically, I was not working Black Friday anymore at Media Play. I was still working at Media Play, but I was working at the hospital. So that was my primary place of work. And since I had to work, Thanksgiving night into Black Friday, I was coming home and I was looking around like, there's not a lot of people at Walmart. Like it looks busy, but they do have TVs on sale. And I at the time I was planning on moving out and I didn't have my own color TV. So I was like, let me just go and see. Let me go see. First of all, it was confusing as hell because there was just pallets of stuff everywhere. So I'm trying to find the television. There's employees helping customers every which way. Eventually found a pallet of TVs in the women's shoe department, which I thought was weird. And I went and I got one. So I was like, okay, I got a TV. There were people like literally with freaking like dollies carrying televisions because there was no limit on them. And so I'm walking to the front register and this little old man, he stops me halfway to the register. He goes, "Oh, is that the RCA TV that was on sale in the circular?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, do you mind if I take a look at it real quick?" And he puts his glasses on. He's looking at the specs. And while he's looking at it, he's reaching his hands into the handholds that my hands are in and then starts trying to yank it out of my hands. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he starts yelling, "Mine." Like I was somehow stealing it from him. I was like, "Give him my TV, you old bastard." And I took off. I was so mad. I was like, I will never do this again, ever. Oh, it was such an awful experience.
Oh man, so it's the perfect setting for a horror story, right? I think that's we've driven the point into the ground. So let's get to the good stuff. Let's come up with this story of what we would do with something for Black Friday. Now, you had mentioned before like a slasher idea, and I think we talked a little bit offline and kind of threw some ideas back and forth. So we're probably going to be on the same page here. But when I think of Black Friday, the traditional 20th century concept of a Black Friday, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, the big crowds of people where it's like a dangerous scenario. That's the part that I think of as a good setting for a horror story. It's the crowds of people. It's this mob mentality. You put enough people together into a big crowd and they can they can protest, and change the world, or they can, loot and plunder, and they can grab the pitchforks. And there's something about, putting people together in like this hive mind group that allows them to do things that would never happen. I mean, I think January 6th, anyone,
Absolutely. No, dude, seriously, like I've gone on record as saying the most terrifying thing about about Halloween Kills is not Michael Myers, it's the fucking mob mentality. Mob mentality is terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So for me, that's what the horror story is. It's the mob mentality. But I think at the same time, what that big crowd of people does is it creates chaos, and chaos creates opportunity. So I think there's a couple of different ways to approach a horror story. Where is the horror the crowd of people, or is the crowd of people a setting that allows something else to happen because of this chaos,
Yeah, no, and I think that's the key right there, is that it's an opportunity killing. It's going to be that there's going to be a lot of people around, and someone can hide amongst the chaos.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's perfect. So it's, it seems like we have a good setup. So let's put a couple of building blocks together and create a setting. I think if we do like a setting, a time, a place, maybe some people, some characters, what we can kind of set the stage for, what our slasher or killer or whatever it is, like the setting that they're gonna step into in this crowd. So obviously, again, 80s and 90s has to be, because you don't want to have cell phones, and because, again, the phenomena doesn't really exist in the exact same way anymore. I love the look of a low budget 80s horror movie. I think we've gone on record and we've done it multiple times.
Oh, hell yeah.
So let's just come up with a name for our store and maybe throw some like employees inside, and let's just start from there.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, some kind of a big box store, particularly like a Kmart or a Walmart or a Target, more I think more akin to a Walmart, something that's going to be like a superstore, where they'll have like, a grocery section and, every type of goods you can imagine, like an automotive part, zone, and, fucking guns and tools and shit. So it could be like, the plethora of stuff that we could have the killer use.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, we could even call the store Big Box, and just
that
just
works.
Just have a logo that looks like a cube in between, big and box, like easy,
That I actually really like that. So yeah, okay. So the store will be called Big Box. That's kind of funny. I never actually considered calling it that. I was like, that's good. For whatever reason, the manager character, like, because there has to be, at least somebody in authority that the employees are going to be talking to. I just keep picturing the dude just being named Frank. Like, I'm picturing this like middle-aged, kind of balding, pot-bellied, like family man named Frank.
Yeah, exactly. And there's something about the 80s, especially movies in the 80s, where, man, people like would live in these big giant houses in the suburbs, but they had these like retail jobs. It was like, how is some retail mid-level manager affording a fucking 8-bedroom house in like the Chicago suburbs? John Hughes, Oh,
I always hated that. Like, I never noticed it as a kid, but the moment like I was an adult, I would question, like, what did they do for a living? How did this work? Like, clearly they're selling heroin on the side.
They must. There's no way that like the night manager at Radio Shack has that house, it's not a thing.
Right. But keep in mind, we had to figure out what Kevin McAllister's dad did, and we damn well found it in Chud. He's in a witness protection program, damn it.
Well, see, he has an excuse.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, manager's named Frank, like some kind of like a middle-aged, overweight white guy with a mustache, So since we're kind of pretending that we're improving the Black Friday movie from 2021, I'm on IMDb and I'm just going to steal all the character names. I'm like,
that works.
So let's just rattle off a couple of employees and, assign some stereotypical qualities to them, just to get ourselves started. So I'm going to go with Devin Sawa plays a character named Ken. I don't know anything about that because I haven't seen the movie, but so we're going to have a character named Ken. And I think Ken is the new guy and this is his first day.
Oh, God. Gotcha. Okay. We should have the stereotypical big-haired, bubblegum chomping, blonde teenage girl named Cindy.
Okay, Cindy, got it. Yeah, she's
Like
the
have
bad
her be a
girl.
cashier. Yeah, she's like the one that's always like, chewing her gum, like, I don't know, like that type of girl.
She definitely has a ponytail on the side for sure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, and then let's see. Michael Jai White plays a character called Archie. So
I like that.
at,
I like Archie.
I like the name. Yeah, me too. And at the risk of stereotyping Michael Jai White too much, I always think of him as like a badass when I see him in movies.
Me
I think
too.
he gives off that impression. So I think Archie needs to be the seasoned vet. He's the guy. He's been around forever. Maybe he's like the head cashier, or he works like the service desk. He's been promoted, but not to management because it's the 80s and he's black. And I'm sorry, but that's the reality.
Right. No. He should be the back room guy. Like, he should be the guy that like takes in all the shipments and
Okay.
runs the back room. So it's like he's been there forever. He knows the ins and outs of the store.
Yep.
But like he's kind of running the back. Is it like, this is my place? Like,
Okay.
you do what you want to do out there, Frank. I run it back here. That type of thing.
There he goes. Yeah. So he's the foreman in the back. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So what about you? I'll toss it back to you. Let's come up with a couple more, and then we'll get into like a scenario.
All right, I'm picturing like the little squirrely stock boy that's like, super horny. Like, again, we're talking 80s and 90s. So you got the super horny, scrawny, like the shaggy haired kind of stock boy, little pimply faced, weak arm kind of thing. Let's just name him Ted.
Okay. All right. Ted is way too horny for his own good.
Horny stock boy.
Nice. Yeah, he watches a lot of horror movies and fast forwards to the tit shots. That's what he does.
Yes, he has a copy of was it Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and that one scene in the pool is just really worn the fuck out.
Yeah. Exactly. So I mentioned Ken just because I think it's funny if there's like he's the new guy. They hired him for holiday help, just for like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and so it's his first day on Black Friday. And I just think it's hilarious to kind of throw that type of a guy into the meat grinder. The guy has no idea what he's doing, and they just want him to like, they tell him you should just greet the people when they come in, this.
And he just gets plowed over,
Yeah. But I don't necessarily know that I want that to be like our main focus. I think we need to pick one of these characters to kind of be a POV. I mean, yeah, it's a ensemble cast. We can jump around a lot, but somebody's gonna kind of, talk to Ted, right? Try to hit on Cindy, maybe get kicked out of the back room by Archie. This kind of a guy. Or girl, right? Either way.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we should have a final girl type. Maybe two. Have like a final girl and a final guy type. So you're questioning, throughout the run, like which one's gonna live, type of thing. So now you had mentioned Ken, and of course the first thing that came to my mind was Barbie. But what about Barbara?
Okay, yeah, no, that's a very 80s name. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we have Barbara. She'll be like, final girl ?
Yeah, exactly, right. And she's.
Oh, I was just gonna say she'll be like that focal character.
For sure, yeah. She'll be our POV, and she's been working there for a little while. She kind of knows the ropes. She knows everybody. Everyone loves Barbara. Everyone likes her. And then since everyone likes her, we need to have a guy. Potentially final boy, but no one likes him. So no one likes Dennis, right? Fuck Dennis. Dennis is like, he's not an asshole, but he's just like a regular like 80s, teenager, but he's kind of bitter. He's maybe, he's always got his Walkman and his headphones on blaring so loud you can kind of hear what he's listening to, and like you don't know why he's so mad, or he's just pissed off, but like Ken's trying to show him like like a penthouse or something, and Dennis is just like, get the fuck out of here, whatever.
Right.
And Dennis wants to just go and be left alone in like the break room, and Archie comes in and like turns off the episode of Who's the Boss so he can like watch the game, and Dennis gets pissed off and leaves. Like it's just kind of like we don't know why Dennis is so like, why is he so irritable?
He's mad because Black Friday killed his parents. No, sorry.
Oh no, you see, you said that like a joke, but that'd be hilarious if at some point if at some point later on in the movie, when they're hiding out somewhere, we got to give him like the Phoebe Cates speech from like Gremlins,
Yes. Oh my God. I hate Christmas because my dad died in a chimney. What a fucking dark moment in that movie.
So maybe Dennis
Oh.
he doesn't hate Black Friday. He just hates the holidays. So maybe like every time we see Dennis, he's grumpy, but like they're like maybe what's the guy manager's name? Frank wants Dennis to like hang up the Christmas decorations because of course the movie's going to start really early in the morning, like before they open the store. So it's like, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, right? And everyone's going to come in. So as they're coming in and kind of going about their day, Frank's going to tell Dennis, you got to start hanging up all these Christmas decorations. And Dennis just thinks that's the worst fucking thing ever. He's so fucking annoyed that he's got to do this. And so as soon as, Frank walks away, he just like chucks a Christmas ornament like down an aisle or, something and knocks the Santa Claus over in frustration. And every time you see him, he's just hanging up the Christmas decorations, just real shitty and crooked,
Oh God. Oh, that's fucking funny.
Yeah, see, this is like this is the fun of the show for me. It's like just imagining all these people. We're gonna put them together into some kind of situation, and they're just like we're gonna crank their backs and just let them go.
Absolutely. I like that though. I like what we've done with Dennis.
So one more quick one is let's have Mama Bear, like an older woman. She's been working there forever. Everybody loves her. She mamas everybody. Maybe she comes in and I don't know if we want to go the like grandmotherly route, like she comes in and brings everyone like a scarf that she knitted over the Thanksgiving holiday, or if she's just going to come in and give everyone like, sage like aunt advice. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what direction we want to go in.
I feel like either Debbie or Jan, only because when I worked at Media Play, we had 2 older women named Debbie and Jan, and they were always the ones bringing in like, oh, it's because it's, Christmas. I brought in these cookies. They're in the break room, that kind of thing. And like both of them were kind of grumpy. So they're not really the matriarchal type, but or like the motherly type, but they would still always bring like food to celebrate on the holidays and would always like be festive around the holidays, even though they were kind of a grump because of the job. They still loved their coworkers. So I feel like either Debbie or Jan. Those are the 2 names that came to mind.
Let's go with Jan, because I have an actual aunt named Jan, and she was always that type. She's still the aunt who sends everyone a Christmas card, handwritten, and sends cookies and things like that. So let's go with Jan. And Jan is everybody's auntie, everybody's mama bear. Oh, maybe she brings in cookies, brings in Christmas cookies for everybody. And this is going to be the first time we see Dennis. Even before the Christmas decorations thing, like he doesn't want cookies from her because, she's like, oh, here, take a cookie. And he's like, oh yeah, cool. And then she opens up the container and they're, Christmas cookies with sprinkles and shit. And then he's just like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm allergic, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So now we should at least have a handful of customers that are going to be like, more than just faceless fodder. So just like rattle off a couple of names real quick. The first name that came to mind, and I know I'm notorious for this, but Bob is the first name that came to mind. I pictured like just like a rotund kind of happy-go-lucky middle-aged dude that's trying to get a bunch of toys for his kids type of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So forget the Black Friday movie. I always think A Christmas Story is my all-time favorite movie of all time. And so and I thought of it too because for some reason when I think of like, old weird guys, I think of like old Ralph from Friday the 13th. So we're going to have a guy called Ralphie. And there you go. Let's have a Randy. Let's just throw that in there for our little Easter egg joke. We'll have a Ralphie and a Randy. Oh, maybe they're like twins and they have a crush on Cindy and they're like regulars who come in all the time.
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna put brothers and crush on Cindy. Okay. And then let's have like a Mrs. McDermott or something like that, like just some old lady. So
yeah,
McDermott. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I think that'll be good. We can come up with other ones if we need to, depending on what the story calls for. But I think that this will be, we have our main cast, and then we have like the customers that are going to be like secondary cast, possible fodder.
It begs the question of like, how are we going to meet these customers? Because I'm expecting somewhere early on in the movie, we're going to see outside the front doors of the store this big crowd of people that's like milling around in the cold, waiting like a tidal wave. But like, we have to meet these customers that we just came up with, Bob and the twins and Mrs. McDermott, because we want to be able to have some kind of connection that these are like real people. But and as well as I do that anyone who's ever worked in retail has buttloads of stories about like their favorite regular customers or like weirdos, who came in all the time. So we need to come up with some way to meet these customers or to identify them in some way before or after the doors open.
Well, I think, okay, so what I was thinking with the customers that would be, kind of not really main characters, but would be like named characters, like we just, talked about Bob, Ralphie, Randy, Miss McDermott, all of that. I was figuring those would be people that would, we would meet during the chaos. So like, especially Bob and Mrs. McDermott, like just in other words, helpful customers that once the shit hits the fan, they're kind of joining forces with the employees. So we could question, like, are they the killer? Are they in on it? But like, with Ralphie and Randy, like the fact that you mentioned specifically that they're regulars, that they have a crush on Cindy and all that, we could even do something as simple as like when we see the entire crowd like outside against the glass, like looking in, faces pressed against, like kind of cupping their hands around their eyes so they can see into the windows. We could maybe even have Cindy be like, "Oh my God, there's those brothers that are always fucking with me," or "There's those brothers," and like we could do like a little flashback scene of like a little flashback montage where we see Cindy like standing there filing her nails at the cash register, chewing gum, and like Ralphie coming up with flowers, be like, "Flowers, my sweet," and then like the very like the exact same thing, like her position has not changed, and we see Randy going, "Chocolates, my dear," and then like just like just scene after scene of the same two doing the same thing, and her just looking like she can't be bothered.
Yeah, no, that's good. I definitely like that. Yeah, let's definitely do that. Let's just have them kind of be in the front of the crowd, and let's have Bob be some kind of a helpful customer who, there's going to be like a fight or something that's going to break out, and Bob's going to like break it up, and then he, maybe Frank's going to come over and be like, "Oh, Bob, thank God you were here. At least one customer is sane today." Something like that. I think that kind of makes sense. So, okay, so we've gone on and on about all this setup. I think this is important stuff because we got to lay the groundwork, but like, let's get to the good shit.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. So if we're gonna set this, let's just officially pick a time. So let's say 1988. Just I don't know why, just late 80s, not quite the 90s yet. So we're not all. We're not in the Furby craze. We're still more in the Cabbage Patch NES kind of craze era. But we wouldn't have a lot of technology available to us, and it's when stores were a little more lax with gun policies, because I'm sure you remember growing up in the 80s, and Kmart just had a whole fucking rack of guns with, usually there was no clerk there was a bell to ring, and you could just kind of like walk around the counter and grab a gun. Like, it was very lax back then. So I'm thinking, so 1998 plus, back then you didn't Black Friday sales did not start on Thanksgiving. They start like, you open the doors, you might open the doors at like 3 a.m., but it wasn't, the night of Thanksgiving. It had to be after midnight. They didn't start that bullshit of like at 7 p.m. Thanksgiving night. They didn't start that until the 2000s. So, it was always like early morning. Like I know with Media Play, we normally opened at 9 in the holiday season. And on Black Friday, we opened at like 7 a.m., and then like, I know couple years, early on in the 2000s, like Target would normally open at like 8, and then they were opening at like 5 a.m. on Black Friday.
Yeah.
So
just earlier and earlier though.
Yeah. So what I would say is like, so maybe this store is one of those ones where like they're going to open at 3 a.m. So when we see our characters, like it's maybe like midnight and they're at the store, they're all annoyed. It's starting to snow outside pretty bad. There's a severe weather warning like coming, and like maybe the employees are all pissed about it. They're like, oh God, I had so much food and now I'm here and I want to just fucking sleep and there's bad weather and what the fuck, man? Like just grumpy, don't want to be there. And Frank's trying to cheer everyone up, like, come on, guys, let's put on the Christmas tunes and get the Christmas tree up and blah, 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 trying to set up before the customers come in. So we kind of have our setting of all of the employees do not want to be there. It's late at night. They're all full of turkey. Just like, fuck, what is my life? That type of a thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we should start off with one of our POV characters. Like, let's start off with Barbara or Dennis. And I kind of like the idea of Barbara, where we can do a little bit of a fake out at the beginning. I mean, it'll be obvious, but let's start off with like a creepy setting, right? Where Barbara is driving in like the start of a snowstorm, and she pulls into this dark parking lot, like she's going to pull up to the store. And maybe it's one of those, like a Kmart or a Walmart, where it's a big store. There could maybe even be a couple of smaller stores in like the plaza, nearby, but everything's dark, and she's pulling into the back. And as she's like pulling in, there's this, you see all these people, and she's like, I don't know, maybe wiping like the steam off of her windshield, trying to get a closer look. And it's like, what the fuck are all these people here? And hell, we could even go overboard with it and maybe even have like people run up to her car and start banging on it. And she's like, she's going to freak out and like peel away and like, go into the back and like get out of her car. And maybe she sees some people like milling around in the parking lot and then are kind of creeping her out. So she's going to like run to the back door and like bang on it and create this sort of fake tension where she's trying to get in the store quick, and maybe even have some customer who's like, oh, look, there's a door back here. And she's just like bang on the door. And then, right at the last second, while a couple of, enterprising, sneaky customers are running at her, you see Archie open up the door and like, she rushes in, and Archie just like, stands in the doorway and stares these guys down until they skid to a stop and like turn around,
Yes, yeah, I know. It's funny because you were describing it and it was almost scene for scene what I was picturing with the setup that you had laid out. So yeah, like I think what we should do is have do straight up POV, like you said, have her pulling into the lot. We see all the customers starting to like pile up. So it's like it's not even like 1 a.m. yet. Like it's just after midnight, and we see like customers starting to like park in the front, and like so we see this POV shot of Barbara driving through the parking lot and like come around back. Now, one of the things I want to show in the back is like we're gonna have like the employee parking back there, and have like snow piles. Like, so there's a lot of snow like plowed up against the back of the parking lot. And I want to specifically have a snow plow in the lot. So it's like, whether it's one of those things like that, Archie would be doing that to clear the parking lot. So he'd be driving the snow plow. Because that's going to come back later. So we have just like you said, like she gets out of the car and you have the employees like, hey, look over there. And we do that whole scare because I fucking love that. And I love the way you had Archie come out and just mean mug him. That's perfect. So we introduce our two characters like that. We get inside and, and this is where we get to see that while Archie is a badass, he's good to his coworkers. Like he's a good man. So like, when Barbara comes in, he like kind of claps some of the snow off of her shoulders. Like, how you doing, Barbara? Just like real nice, and she's like, cookie, and offers him a cookie, and he's like, oh, thanks, grabs one, and she heads out to the store floor. So we meet Archie here in that little quiet moment. We see that he's a badass, but has a heart of gold, and we follow Barbara out of the back and into like the main store. And I'm just picturing this POV shot of her opening the back doors and just the bright freaking fluorescent lights of the big box, just kind of shining down, and we hear like, maybe like jingle bells, or like we hear some kind of Christmas music playing, and we see employees milling about with like fucking garland around their neck and like half crooked Santa hats or reindeer antlers, looking tired as hell, putting up sale signs on different things. And she's running around like cookie, like she's being super nice, and everyone just looks miserable.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So there'll be like some faceless employees, but this will be the perfect opportunity for us to, Cindy is maybe just at the register, like half asleep, like leaning on it, and of course Barbara walks up and is like, cookie, and she's just like, grunting at her, like, why are you so chipper? It's midnight, and again, kind of say, that expository dialogue to like set the scene. And I'm trying to look at my list. Maybe Ken, the new guy, is there, and he's looking real happy. Like, he's like holding a broom, but like doesn't know what to do. So she's like, Cookie, and he's just like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. Like he just, he's not sure how to like take it, for whatever reason. And of course Ted, who maybe he's like dozing, like kind of almost like leaning against a clothing rack somewhere, and Barbara comes up, Barbara offers him a cookie, and he's gonna immediately snap from dozing into like, hey, what brings you here? Some stupid line.
What he should do is he should, like, because you said they're Christmas cookies, so she's like, Ted, do you want a cookie? And he's like, oh yeah, and grab one that's a candy cane. Then he's like, hey, Cindy, and he holds it in front of his crotch, like, like he's got. Oh, God, and she's just like, oh my God, and rolls her eyes at him as he bites the candy cane and scampers off.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where Aunt Jan is there, and maybe because she's like Mama Bear, so maybe she's just gonna like cluck her tongue like that boy, like.
What we should do is have her. Okay, so yeah, I love that. I forgot about Jan. So yeah, so he does the candy cane thing, stay like, hey Cindy, look, hey, and holds it in front of his crotch. And Jan, like, maybe she's she's putting up Christmas decorations, so she has some of those those cardboard like cutouts, like the cardboard Santas, and she just like smacks Ted with it, like, go on, get that's naughty, and he just like scampers off eating his cookie.
Nice. Yeah, so this is a perfect, way for us to kind of meet all of our characters, and of course she's gonna walk up to Frank, and Frank's gonna be all business, like he'll take a cookie, but then he's immediately gonna be like, hey, I need you on, register 2 tonight, but before you start that, I got you, go over to, intimate and straighten up the whatever, he's gonna he's just immediately all business, barking orders, and so they're gonna be spending some time like hanging up the decorations and like straightening displays and making sure that all the sales signs are out and that sort of thing. So Frank's going to kind of orchestrate. And in the interest of time, I don't want to go through this beat by beat by beat, but I really like this setup. It kind of tells us where we are. But of course, Dennis is going to come in late. He's gonna he'll be the last one in the back door, come in with his hood up and his hands in his armpits, trying to keep him warm. And Frank's going to give him some shit about being late, and he's just going to walk right past him like he didn't even hear and go clock in.
Exactly. So yeah, because this gives us a feel for each one of our characters in quick little bite-sized chunks. So during this whole segment, we could even have like, Ken talking to Cindy, who's like, staring out at the crowd milling about in front, and this is where we could do that scene that I mentioned where she rolls her eyes. She's like, oh my God, it's the, whatever twins, or Alfie and Randy. And then we have our little montage of them doing the whole chocolates, my dear, flowers, my dear, and have Ken be like, how many regulars do you guys have? And she's like, too many, like maybe we could kind of do one of those to set it up. Like we're going to have other regulars. But yeah, so let's speed past the setup. So we know our characters, we know what's going on. We tell we have Frank give the pep talk that he has to give, like, all right, everybody, the doors are going to open in 10 minutes and blah, blah, blah. There's not enough, we know there's not enough stereos to go around, but try to upsell people on this. If they're mad about not getting a stereo, maybe you can convince them to buy this Cuisinart, exactly. Just trying to like do the managerial thing. So we get all that speech, and then the doors open, and it's just a fucking flood. You get all the customers rushing in, and like, maybe Ken is actually excited, and then he goes from excited to scared. Like, I'm picturing Simba from The Lion King when you see the stampede.
Yes, I was thinking the exact same thing, because Frank's gonna tell Ken to like, he's like, normally you'd be a greeter, but I think today you should just stand over here. And Ken doesn't really understand why, but you see like maybe Ken and Dennis, or not Ken, Ted and Dennis, they're on either side of these like rolling doors, and they're like, ready? All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3. They start rolling the doors, and the crowd comes, and then we just zoom in on Ken's face as his eyes get bigger and bigger and bigger.
He just looks terrified.
Oh, and it would be funny too if the crowd just mows him down. It would be like a John Hughes movie, just real comical. And the next thing you know, he's like on the ground, like dazed, like he's in a cartoon, and Ted's gonna come over and like offer him a hand up.
See, the first thing that came through my mind when you talked about them plowing him down was, I'm sure you remember the Tick cartoon.
Mhm.
There was the episode with all of the Santas, and they like ran the
Oh
Tick
yeah.
down, and he just goes, "Yule tide!"
Exactly. That's exactly. It's perfect. Oh, and then from here, it's just going to be absolute chaos to the point where it's going to be like a montage, and we got to
Yeah.
play, some kind of a good, like a rock and roll version of a Christmas song, like rocking around the Christmas tree, but it's like fast and heavy, Uh,
Run, Rudolph!
exactly. Some kind of like
Santa's
hair,
gotta make it to town.
they got like a hair metal band to cover it,
Yes, yeah.
They get
Twisted Sister covers "Run, Run, Rudolph."
exactly. Yeah. And this is a good opportunity for some comedy, obviously some situations, but then we can meet our other regular customers. We can meet again, I think it'd be fun if you see two employees just get in a fist fight over like one of these stereos, and they're just going at it, and I don't know exactly how I'm picturing Bob as a character, but since we're talking about doing like a slasher story, we got to start introducing some characters or some situations where potentially he could be a killer, right? So
Right.
I'm thinking, Bob's the kind of guy where he's just like your fishing uncle. He's the kind of guy where he's just like, oh, this is cute, so he's gonna like step in the middle of these two guys who are fist fighting, and maybe he catches the one guy's fists, and it's just like,
Yeah.
nuh-uh.
See,
And-
I'm picturing Bob as like the type of guy who just is, he's just big, like all around. Like he's not fat. He's just he's thick. He's got a gut. He's got the broad shoulders. He's like, 6'3", just a big dude with like a trucker cap, and like, hands the size of like Daisy canned hams, just like big fucking gorilla hands. And like, like you said, like two customers are fighting over a stereo, and like maybe he goes to punch, and Bob grabs his hand. He's like, I don't think so, son. Something like that. Like just steps in the middle, and then we could do what you said with Frank being like, oh, good thing you were here, Bob, and that's where we do the name drop.
Yeah, exactly. And then then Bob's gonna pick up the stereo, and he's gonna go to the cashier with it. Fuck those guys who were fighting.
Exactly. So we know he's definitely got strength behind him, but he's also he's a good guy, but he's kind of a prick.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you guys, I'm taking it.
So we can kind of jump around the story and kind of see all these like little interactions. People are pushing each other. They're making a mess, pulling shit off the shelves. Cindy is like shrieking and like hiding behind the little island with the registers, and maybe Barbara is. You just see her kind of running back and forth like like running away from crowds.
We have to do when Cindy like shrinks down behind the register, like have her almost do the scene where like Robert Downey Jr. and I always forget his name, but his friend in Weird Science. It was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Russell something.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't remember his name. But where they're like, we got to get out of here, and they like duck down behind the counter. So have her do one of those where she looks around and just ducks down behind the counter, like scared of the crowd. And then at the end of the register, like where you would walk into the register, maybe have like Ralphie poke his head around and be like, Cindy, imagine meeting you here. Like just like little jump scare from Ralphie.
These two guys are stalking her. Yeah, like, and the next time when she does finally stand up, like she turns and there's fucking Randy's at the register. Like, oh shit, where'd you come from? It's like they just keep popping out of nowhere.
Which is good because then we're going to be questioning, like, are they the killers? Like, what's going on with these two?
And so I have this funny thing. You mentioned Mrs. McDermott is like this older lady, and I'm picturing her like she's not rushing, but like you see this one older lady who's just walking at a normal pace, and she's older, so she's walking slow, maybe a little arthritic, maybe a little hunched over. She has her little purse, and she's gonna walk up and like look at some hat or something and decide to, and some other lady is gonna decide to just take it from her, like, oh, that's mine, and of course Mrs. McDermott is just gonna beat her in the fucking head with her purse.
Yes.
And just beat her down, like,
don't like, I don't think so.
like that's for my little grandniece, don't you dare take this hat, whatever, like.
Yeah, she ain't gonna take no shit.
Exactly. And then you're gonna see I think Ted is a good character to kind of explain things. Maybe Ken sees Mrs. McDermott, and Ted is just like, maybe he puts his hand on Ken's chest, like, no, don't go over there. It's cool. Mrs. McDermott can handle herself.
Right.
Again, kind of name drop the character.
Absolutely. So we go through, we're going to have our little montage. We'll see all the shopping. Now, during the montage, someone has to get killed. So what if we have something like, we see a customer, like, got a full cart of stuff, and they go to use the bathroom. It's like no merchandise beyond this point, and we see like a POV shot of them being like, oh crap, and maybe they turn to like Ken or something like, can you watch my cart? I really got to take a shit, like too much turkey or something like that, and it's like a funny moment. And have Ken be like, yeah, sure, sir. And he's like standing there holding the guy's cart, looking like he doesn't know what to do. And then just have like a POV shot follow into the bathroom. So we see someone go in the bathroom. And then like we hear the guy like, dropping a fucking grumpy in there, just like, just grunting away. And then just have the door get booted open, have the guy be like, what the hell? And then cut away. So we don't know what happens. And then eventually like Ken's sitting there like, where is this guy? And maybe Frank even comes up like, dude, what are you doing? I need you on register 4. That you see the crowd up there. And he's like, I told this customer I'd watch his stuff while he was going to the bathroom. And he's like, well, go in there and find out how long he's going to be. Then he walks in, and maybe the lights are like flickering, like you make it real creepy. Like, like someone broke one of the lights. So it's like, brr, 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 and it's like flickering. Mm-hmm. He's like, sir, I have your card out here, sir. And he's walking around looking, and all of the doors, like the stall doors, are kind of open, and he sees like one kind of looking like it's off its hinges a little. He's like, and have him turn the corner, and we just see like the dude fucking dead on the can, like throat slit, blood all down him, pants around his ankles, like shirt tails just hanging over his junk, just like, and have Ken freak the fuck out, right? Come running back out, and he's trying to get a hold of the other employees. He's trying to tell, someone's dead, and no one's listening. Everyone's just ignoring him because like, fucking new guy, he doesn't know how to handle this. He's trying to get Frank, and Frank's dealing with angry customers. He runs up and tries to get like Cindy or anybody else at the register to believe him. They're like, I don't have time for your shit right now, Ken. Look at this. Look how many people are up here. So he's free. Like, he saw a body, and no one will listen to him. So and then maybe while that's happening, we hear a scream from the other side of the store. And, people come running over, and there's like a fucking dead body in produce. Like, no one was over in the grocery section. Everyone was shopping over in the the sales sections, and someone got murdered over in the grocery section, and there's a fucking body there. Now the panic happens. So it's like there's a body in the fucking store. Customers see it. The employees can't ignore it. And now we get like the trample. Where the stampede of everyone trying to rush out.
Yeah, for sure. No, so hang on 1 second. Let me just back up just a minute. First of all, I think it would be a funny comedy moment when Ken comes out of the bathroom and he's like hyperventilating, trying to call for help, and some other customers come up and see the guy's like cart full of shit, and they just like kick off with his stuff,
yes!
like fuck that guy in the bathroom, exactly. And I feel like there should be like a couple of deaths. Like you mentioned one over in the produce section, but I want this to maybe even be like a little bit over the top. Like I think that would be interesting, because I don't want to rush through this idea of this crowd being like an opportunity. And at the same time, like we don't know like when this started exactly, because we just had a montage for a couple of minutes, but in like the time for the characters, it could have been 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever,
right.
So I think it'd be funny if we see Ken somehow has become the POV character, even though that wasn't the original intention. But maybe as Ken is like hyperventilating and like coming back from the bathroom, maybe he like slips on something and, he falls down. And of course, he goes to see what he slipped on, and there's like a fucking puddle of blood, and he just sees like someone's arm sticking out of like a pile of like boxes on a shelf somewhere,
yes.
So it's like not just one body in the bathroom, but there's a fucking another one over here. And this is why he's hyperventilating. He's panicking. So when he gets to the front and he's trying to tell Frank, he's like, Frank's, whatever his last name is, like, I don't know, Mr. Mancuso, but like he can't get it out,
and like maybe he's even has blood on him because he slipped. He's like, look at me. He's like, oh, come on, Ken, go clean yourself up. We got work to do. Like just completely ignoring that it's blood.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he says something ridiculous like, did you spill something in produce? Like no one cares about produce right now. Like nobody's over there,
right.
Which would be an interesting segue to like, maybe you hear a scream from over in produce and Frank's like, what the fuck? And it's like, who's over in produce? And actually, I think if we're gonna kill any of our like employee characters, Frank's probably the best one to go first, right? Get rid of the guy in charge, right? The authority figure. So yeah, we can even have Frank be the one who runs over to produce and like sees a body, and then maybe he goes into, before the panic happens, he goes into like damage control mode, like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? Like, I don't want anyone to come over here and see this, and maybe Dennis or something. I think Dennis kind of would probably take things in stride because, he's so like, grumpy and dark and depressed. So, maybe he was, carrying something that comes over and was like, yo, what the fuck? And, Frank's like, shh, don't say anything. Don't tell anybody. Just, shit, help me cover it up or something, I guess, but yeah, right at this moment, you're going to hear someone else scream, and then maybe someone else screams, and then somebody near Frank is pointing and like, oh my God, look at that. And they saw the body on the ground. But it's like, fuck, like how many bodies are in this building? It's
right.
like, and then because it's coming from like multiple angles, it's like that mob mentality kicks back in, and they go from, kind of coming down off this wave of like rushing into the store, and now it's going to rush back where now they want to rush out of the store, in a stampede.
Yes. Yeah, I think, okay, so this is perfect. I love the setup of having the multiple deaths. That's a really good call. So we have, I think, like when we start hearing the screams, we should do almost like a Sam Raimi zoom where we like do the POVs quick zoom in and see like what people are screaming at. So we, like Frank hears the scream. So Frank and Dennis find the body in produce. They hear the scream. And then like quick, like we see them turn their head and we zoom in, and like maybe over in electronics, there's like a decapitated head sitting on a fucking television or something. Or no, even better yet, it's sitting in a microwave over in like the appliances section.
Nice,
So,
yeah.
and I've like have a bunch of old women like, like screaming. And then we hear like another scream, and we see just like, blood and feet like sticking out of one of the dressing rooms, and then like we're like quickly zooming around the store, and we see body after body after body, and people like freak out. It builds to the crescendo, like you said. Everyone starts rushing to get out of the front doors. While they're cramming to get out of the front door, like we see like some old woman get trampled, like people are just fighting to get the fuck out. But remember I mentioned that plow earlier. So we get a bunch of people come spilling out of the front right as the plow turns around the corner of the parking lot and just fucking rips through a crowd of them, just mows people down.
Shit, yeah.
So it's just like a bloody splatter all across the front windows. There's a smear across the pavement. People are panicking and running back into the store, trampling more people. So it's just like people immediately tried to get out, and now just some fucking psychopath in a plow took out like 40 people in one go.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome. And like, so now we got the panic of like, what do we do? We can't leave, but we can't stay. There's bodies in here. There's a killer out there. What do we do? And I think during that's when we should see like the snow is really starting to come down. So it's like now we have the elements to contend with as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
We should insert kind of before this at some point, maybe insert Archie saying something about that plow being out there, because we saw it at the beginning. So at the beginning, while we have all of our characters who are coming in the door, they're all making some comment about, "Ooh, it's really coming down out there," And at some point, Archie, maybe he's going to tell Frank, he's going to be like, "Look, man, like, I don't know." I don't know if he was meant to drive the plow himself, or if there was someone else who was coming, but he has to make some comment to Frank like, whoever's going to plow out there needs to get here ASAP before the plow itself gets buried. Some comment like, let's kind of hang a lampshade on the fact that plow is out there so that we can, when it comes out later, yeah, it's a surprise that it mows through a crowd of people, but it doesn't seem like it comes out of nowhere because, we kind of mentioned it.
I got a perfect idea. I love that. So two things. When Barbara's first coming in and we get the POV, we want to have her listening to the radio and have like, them playing Christmas. So it would start with the opening credits. We'd have the Christmas music playing, and then it would cut in and be like, oh, I hope everyone's having a fun post Thanksgiving, or something like, hope you all had your fill of turkey, and for those of you that are out there Black Friday shopping, you got to be careful for the severe weather warning we have, and like have them doing like a whole weather report talking about like a possible blizzard. So it's like just watch what's going on, keep an eye to the sky, and, get home safe, that type of thing. And then we see the plow out back. We see it's coming down. We have, Archie look around, see the snow really bad. And then maybe before we let the crowd in, we have Archie come up to Frank and be like, Frank, I'm going to have to get out there and start plowing the parking lot again. He goes, it's starting to come down really bad. We could have some comment. So then we can question, is Archie doing that? Because we met Archie already. He seemed like a good guy. Is he the fucking killer? Because this way we can start to build those questions of who the killer is. So now we, when we cut to the plow coming around the corner, at first it's oh yeah, Archie said he was going to plow the parking lot and it's clearly snowing really bad. Holy shit, he just wiped out 40 people,
Yeah, so you're going to immediately assume that it's Archie, but we definitely have to see Archie again soon. Maybe not immediately. We don't want to totally rule it out, but after this whole sequence where the plow rips through the people, then what you have is a crowd of people who escape, the group of people who gets killed outside by the plow, and then some stragglers who are still in the building who are like, oh fuck that, I'm staying in here,
right.
even though there's obviously bodies and death inside the building, but they know that there's a dangerous plow outside, so now we have the fodder that are left inside that we got to pick off.
And I think we should even have right after the plow plows down people and people panic and run back inside, we should have people be like, fuck it, I'm getting out of here, and rush across the parking lot fumbling with their keys and have everyone watching from inside, and then they just fucking get shot. There's a gunman out there holy shit, his head came off, that kind of a thing.
Oh, damn, yeah.
So then people are the other people that were out there trying to get in their cars, they're hitting the deck, they're in the snow, they're screaming. You hear gunshots, windshields are breaking, everyone's freaking out. And then Frank's someone call the fucking cops. And have maybe even this is where we have Archie grab the phone and wait a second, he wasn't driving. Was he driving the plow? Someone grabs the phone and it's dead.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah.
And be like, we don't we got no phone lines. And then as soon as they say that, the power goes out. So now, of course, all the people inside are going to be screaming bloody murder because it's a dark store now. There's a storm outside. There's no phone lines. There's someone shooting people. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. So I kind of like this. I like the idea of saving Archie. I don't know if I want to necessarily have it be so fast that where the fuck did Archie come from? He moves like Jason,
right. Well, okay.
Um,
let's have Cindy do it because she's at the front. She'd be at the register. Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense.
And since let's kind of focus on Cindy and Dennis. So you have Cindy do that, and then but we should start hearing this banging coming from that back door, where we know that all the employees came in earlier, so we kind of know where that back room is. They hear this banging, someone's banging on the metal door, the same door that Cindy came in at the beginning, and of course everyone's gonna kind of everyone shut up. You hear bang bang bang, and it's reverberating through the building, and no one wants to do anything, and then you hear the door open, and everyone inside the building is tensing up together, a crowd of people, oh shit, what's gonna happen? You hear the door open, and then it's you start hearing male voices saying oh god, that snow, and then you see Bob and Archie both come out of the back room with each other, and it's suddenly everyone's gonna panic, wait, what the fuck? But so Archie's gonna be yo, Bob was banging on the door. I let him back in. He must have escaped with everybody else. Of course, Bob's going to be like, yeah, I got out, but then that plow was out there and I heard the shots. So I just ran because I knew that the door, the employee door was back here and Archie let me in. And then, of course, you're going to be like, wait, are they doing this together? Or are they telling the truth? Or what's going on? But kind of lay some suspicion. But also out of all the people who could drive the plow, Bob and Archie are probably the most, likely.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's good. So yeah. So we lay down the groundwork for the suspicion of both of them. We have the thing where we, like I said, we find out that the cops can't come because, we can't call them. Plus, there's a severe weather warning. So even if we do get word out to them, it's going to be hard for them to get there. So we have that situation. We have the power go out, and maybe because when the power goes out, maybe the heat goes off, and they're just oh fuck, what are we gonna do? And like the front, like they're trying to close it up, but there's like fucking bodies and shit, and there's like all gumming up the works.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they want to close the doors because it's like blowing in all that blustery air. It's super cold. Let's have Aunt Jan, she pulls her sweater around herself. Maybe her and like Mrs. McDermott, together, and they're just like, "Ooh, it's getting cold in here, child." And
Yep.
and that's when you maybe Dennis or Ted or somebody is like, "Oh yeah, the heaters, like, where are the furnaces?" Of course Frank's been, gonna be like, "Oh, they're in the back. Hey, I'll go check." And then Frank goes off by himself into the back, and he doesn't come back for a little while. So it's like, again, the suspicion of like, okay, so now we've taken Frank off the table, either to be killed or to be the killer. I don't know, but like, let's put him in the back, like checking on the furnace.
I think we should have someone go with him, only because like in this situation no one's going to want to go anywhere alone. So maybe
Okay.
Frank's like, "Oh yeah, I'll go check the furnace. Ted, come with me." And have Ted
Yep.
be like, "I don't want to go with you. Like, I don't know." Like, Ted, do you want to keep your job? Like, no, fuck this job. Ted, get your ass back here. I don't want to go, guys. Like, have him complaining the whole time, and have the two of them disappear for a moment. So now we're focusing, like we have, like you said, Dennis and Cindy at the front, like, they're looking. No one wants to get close to the windows because, obviously they heard the gunshots. They saw the people get shot. They saw the cars get shot. And maybe like periodically, it'll get quiet, and then we'll hear like another like gunshot, and a tire will blow out on one of the cars. So he's taken out the means of them escaping. Okay. And it's just like, how are we going to get away? Like, all of our he's shooting all the cars. Like, so they're trying to figure out what the fuck to do. And maybe this is where we have Dennis being like, we got to get back to the fucking sporting goods section. They have guns back there. We got to arm ourselves. Like, just like we need weapons. So they go back, and maybe it's like, we'll have Dennis and Ken and Cindy, and maybe like fucking Ralphie and Randy, because they're in the store, and they're just like, what are we gonna do? Like, Cindy, I never got to take you out on a first date. Just and have Cindy just like, would you shut the fuck up? I'm never gonna go out with you. Just have one of those things, and then like they get back, and they're it's maybe Cindy's like, well, how do we use these things? And Dennis is like, oh Jesus Christ, so he's got to show everyone how to use it. So we find out Dennis is proficient with a gun. So there's the question of like, okay, is the mean guy in on it? Like, what's going on there?
And so since we already kind of set up suspicion for both Archie and Bob, I feel like they would probably both, be able to use a gun. So either they should be there too, or maybe they're not there because maybe they're the ones at the front door trying to close the doors because they're like the big strong guys, right? So
perfect.
Let's just move them. So we got to move our characters away from each other, right? Frank and Ted are in the back. Archie and Bob are at the front doors. Dennis and most of our other characters are over at the sporting goods, like the gun rack, of course, Ralphie and Randy are there with him. And okay, so we need another death. We had a whole bunch of deaths all at once, but now we got to kill one of our named people. And I think it should be somebody that you wouldn't expect. Like, you're not going to expect like the nice characters. And so poor Aunt Jan, I'm sorry.
But I was just thinking that.
Because you don't want to kill the characters that are probably going to be the main characters, like your final boy, final girl. You don't want to take out your suspicious possible killers, just yet, like Frank and Archie and Bob. So unfortunately, Aunt Jane's the most likely. So
I got a really good one. I was gonna say it just clicked.
I don't have one. No. So but go for it.
All right. So okay. So Dennis shows everybody how to load, like they're like hunting rifles. So he shows everyone how to load the guns, and to like, hey, it's this, safety's off. Only put your finger on the trigger if you intend to shoot. Like, don't, this isn't an action movie, guys. Don't hold your finger on the trigger. Like, he's showing them, and like, Ralphie and Randy are fucking morons. Ken's the nervous wreck, and Cindy is just like, oh my God, I don't want to hold one of these things. Like, everyone other than Dennis is kind of freaking out. So he shows them all how to use the guns. They start making their way up front, right? We see that Bob and Archie have dragged some of the bodies in so they can finally get the door shut. And right now they're barricading the door. So maybe they're like sliding, they went over to the like one of the racks, and they're just like sliding the stuff over and pushing it up against the door to try to hold it closed against the wind. Yep. And we have Jan like peeking like out the front, like looking around, she's like at the side of the window, like, I don't see anyone out there anymore. Like, maybe he's gone. And as soon as she says that, boom, her fucking face explodes because he shoots her through the glass. But even better, everyone screams, and fucking Ralphie, holding his damn gun, screams because he didn't listen. He's got his finger on the trigger, pulls the fucking trigger, and shoots Randy in the face.
Shit.
So it's like, double scream. Like Jan's head explodes. He's like, ah, boom, ah, like he just killed his brother.
Oh God, Ralphie. Oh man, no, I love that. That's awesome. That's fucking Ralphie with the fucking, he shut his eye out.
Yes. Oh my God, dude, how come I didn't see that? Yes, he literally shoots Randy's eye out.
Yes. Oh God. Oh, and of course we can, and we're laughing about it, but we can even have like a little moment where maybe Randy doesn't fall right away. He just turns and like his eye is bleeding, like his eye socket is like wide open and bloody, and then Ralphie's just like, oh no, like Randy,
he's like oh my God, I shut your eye out.
Exactly. Oh shit.
Oh, that's fucking.
Okay, so.
I'm sorry, just to add one more layer to it, he freaks out the oh my God, I shot your head. He drops the gun and it goes off again and almost hits somebody else.
Exactly right. And maybe Dennis is like, would you fucking quit that?
Just like, Jesus Christ, no guns for you.
Okay, so the weird thing about doing a story like this is that like we didn't decide ahead of time who our slasher or slashers or whatever are going to be. So like,
right,
I'm almost like hesitant to be like, oh, I should kill someone, because it's like, well, I don't know. I kind of have an idea of who I think might be a good person to pick, and like maybe you have an idea, but like it's hard to kind of do this together. Right. So I think we're going to need to kind of like give and take a little bit. So maybe agree that okay, like let me kill somebody and you kill somebody, and we'll kind of like whittle it down, right? Mm-hmm. So again, I think of all the people that are left, we need to have another death, but we just had Randy and Aunt Jan, and I think it should be, well, hang on. Let's slow down and let's have like the regroup moment, right? Where they're all going to go over to like the Cashier Island or wherever, and they're going to all duck down and like, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to need a plan. Like there's no phones, there's no power. It's getting real cold in here. Frank and Ted aren't back yet. So like, we got to find out where they went, and of course, Dennis, who's the, grumpy, depressed guy, he's only taking charge because he's talking like he's the only one with any kind of fucking common sense. Everyone else is panicking, and Dennis is like, would you fucking just cut it out and think, please, so we can all go the fuck home? I don't want to die in this goddamn store.
Exactly. So yeah, so maybe they set it up so they're like, okay, so Dennis is like, all right, we have to find out what happened to Frank and Ted. He's like, the heat's still not on. They've been gone for far too fucking long. We got to go check on them. So maybe Dennis is like, maybe Archie says like, all right, you and me, kid, like, you come with me. I'll go, and then like, they're like, all right, Bob, watch things up here. And Bob's like, can do, just like kind of, the helpful old guy. And we have Archie and Dennis go in the back to look for Frank and Ted. Now, I don't know what you have planned, because I kind of do have an idea of who I feel like the killer should be. Okay. But I don't know if you have one in mind.
No, I don't. I have like a couple where I'm like, yeah, it could be this person for this reason or this person for that reason. I'm kind of like making up some motivations. Yeah. So I'll say, yeah, go for it. If you want to bump off the next person, like I'll roll with it.
Well, I don't want to kill anybody yet, but I do want to. I do want to come. Like we're gonna go in the back room.
Okay.
And we're gonna find Ted laying on the ground. And have them be like, holy shit, it's fucking Ted. And like, They go to grab him and have him like jump up and be like, oh, what the fuck? And they're like, are you all right? And be like, something fucking hit me in the back of the head. What's going on? And he's got like a big old goose egg on the back of his head, right?
Sure. Okay.
So he's looking around and they can't find Frank anywhere. So now we're going to have the suspicion of, is it Frank? The heater's not on, the furnace isn't on. Maybe the furnace is fucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ.
They should definitely like get over to it, and it's just like somebody smashed the hell out of it.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, where is Frank? And they start looking around. Maybe we go up to Frank's office and it's fucking wrecked. Like, the safe, maybe the safe is cracked open and they're like, the fuck's going on up here? We can't find Frank anywhere. Well, we'll get back to Frank. But so now there's the suspicion of like, maybe the crew is going to start to think Frank's up to something. Like the
Yeah.
money's gone out of the safe in the office. The furnace is fucking destroyed. Who the hell knew to destroy that? Like he immediately ran off, and he only wanted one person to go with him, and then we find Ted with a fucking lump on his head. Like what the hell's going on? So I think this will start to lead the suspicion into thinking the manager did it. But clearly, because of the way I'm talking, I don't want the manager to be the one that did it.
No, of course not.
But we have to set up some red herrings. Like if this was a whodunit movie, we would have to set up some red herrings there.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
But yeah, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, from what we said so far, I think the only person that it couldn't be is probably Ken. Just because we saw Ken like find some of the bodies and then like panic, right? So unless he was like really putting on a show for Frank, it seems like he would be the one that would be the most unlikely to be the killer. So I'm just trying to think of like, I want to keep it going with like let's start ramping up the death count and like picking people off. So I think Ken's on that list, but yeah, I'm not sure who else. I feel like maybe Ralphie also, because again, he's probably not the killer if he accidentally killed his brother, if it really was an accident, but at this point, almost anybody else, including Ted, is a possibility.
Yeah, no, I feel like I feel there's several people still on this list that we can easily take out of commission. I know we said Barbara for final girl, but I don't know that she's going to be a final girl. Like this is the fun thing about improving it as we go, because it could change, completely from moment to moment. And honestly, like I had kind of an idea early on when we first started improving this, like once we named our characters and set up the archetypes, I immediately had an idea. But as we've been going, like I said, I kind of got a more finalized idea in my head.
Okay.
Which I think will be fun. So we'll work our way up there. But so let's have Dennis and Archie come back and like tell everyone what they found. They're coming with Ted. Ted looks a little shaky because he was knocked out, and they're like, "Oh my God, Ted, are you okay? Like, what happened to Frank?" He goes, "I don't know. We're going back there. It's pitch black back there." He goes, "Frank grabbed a flashlight. We're walking around. Next thing I know, something hit me in the back of the head, and then they're waking me up." He goes, "I don't know what happened to Frank." So now and then they were like, "Yeah, we went up to his office to look for him, and it's trashed." Like, and then maybe have Archie be like, "Yeah, the motherfucker took money in the safe. Like, what the hell? Like, what is he in on this? Like, is it him? Is he setting this up to rob this place blind and pin it on us?" That like, so Archie's now getting a little angry. Maybe when they go up there's like, we could have, I don't know, maybe Mrs. McDermott and let's have Mrs. McDermott and Cindy are gone. And have to be like, where are Cindy and Mrs. McDermott? And maybe Ken could be like, Miss McDermott had to use the bathroom, and Cindy didn't think she should go alone, so she went with her. And then be like, did anyone take a gun? Cindy didn't want to use one. And have Ken be like, oh, no. And have Dennis be like, what the fuck, dude? And like, so he gets like Bob and Archie or somebody to go with him, goes back to the bathroom. And, we find Cindy just like waiting outside the bathroom, like literally like just chewing bubble gum, looking around all squirrely. They'd be like, how long has she been in there for? She's like, I don't know. How long does it take an old person to take a shit? Just like. So Dennis goes in with his gun, kind of taps on the door like, Miss McDermott, you in there? She's not in there. Like they go in and she's fucking gone. Be like, where the fuck is she? Like, Cindy, were you paying attention? She's like, I don't know. She went in there.
Right? Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Cindy and Mrs. McDermott too, because those are the next two characters that I was thinking about as well. Like, to kind of like, we got to build some suspicion for them.
Right.
So I'm going to throw out another stereotype because it's an 80s movie and we have like, like the mom bear, we have like the old lady, we have like, the big black guy, again, some of these stereotypes that you would expect to see. What we haven't had so far is like a gratuitous like tit shot. I feel like if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be Cindy. It would be hilarious if it was Mrs. McDermott, but it should be Cindy.
Oh my God.
And so the reason I'm saying this is like I really like the idea like when Aunt Jan got sort of shot like kind of by surprise, and if there's a killer in the dark in this store somewhere, what I want like there's this group of people, Dennis and was it Ken and Cindy, and they're like near this bathroom, and then like I kind of feel like Ken is maybe honestly a good suspect because he's like the most, the one that you would suspect the least, But
Right.
what I'm picturing is they're gonna be looking around trying to find Mrs. McDermott, and then I want somebody's head to just pop like a balloon all over Cindy. Like, who that is, like, we'll figure it out. But like, I'm just figuring Cindy is just screaming bloody murder, haha, literally, because she's got like blood in her eyes. It went all over her hair, all over her outfit. She's gonna freak the fuck out, and it's just gonna be like, ew, 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 ew. Because what we're gonna get is like she's gonna go into that bathroom to like change. Like she's gonna grab like a shirt or something off the rack, go in the bathroom, clean herself off. She's in there by herself. She thinks these guys are outside like standing guard. Of course, she's gonna take her shirt off. We get that gratuitous shot, but it's really just an excuse to get her in the bathroom by herself. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. So when they go to check, like, are we still going to do the scene where they check on to see if Mrs. McDermott is in there?
Yeah, I think everything that I just said should happen after this. Like
Okay.
they go to check to see if Mrs. McDermott is in there. She's not in there, and maybe they're like looking around, like where did she go? Like what the hell? Like did she wander off somewhere? Is she senile? And so then we have this like small group of people kind of like looking around in the dark store, and then somebody just gets killed, like boom, out of nowhere. And fuck, again, maybe it was Ralphie. He had come over to like check and make sure Cindy was okay over there with these guys and their guns, whatever.
I think that's exactly who it should be. I think that exactly what you said. So we have the group go and they check. They see Cindy outside, like chewing bubble gum. They're like, how long has Miss McDermott been in there? Yada yada. Dennis goes in, looks around. The bathroom is like completely clean. There's nobody in there, and he's like, "What the fuck? Like, did she walk back out?" She's like, "I didn't see anybody." And then like, he's like, "All right, we got to go look for her. Like, if she wandered off, she's not safe." And he does the thing like where he tells like Archie to come with him. And then maybe leaves like, let's say he leaves Ken and Ralphie with Cindy, right? And like Ken standing there looking all nervous, and we have Ralphie standing there like, I'll protect you, my sweet, that kind of thing. And then have her just be like, oh my God. And then have, like, just like you said, his fucking head explode, brains all over her. She's like, oh my God, like screaming. The other guys come running. They're like, what the fuck just happened? Ken is like pale white on the floor staring at her, like hyperventilating, like what the fuck, like where'd that come from, just like freaking out. So they're like, holy shit, like fucking Ralphie's dead. And have her just like, oh my god, I gotta get this off me. So like, Dennis grabs Ken. He's like, go get her a fucking shirt. You got to clean up, So he comes running back with like a shirt. She runs into the bathroom to start cleaning herself off. And then, like you said, we do that scene while Archie and Dennis are standing outside the bathroom, like with guns, looking around, like, what the fuck shot Ralphie? Just like trying to figure it out. But yeah, then like you said, we got the gratuitous titty shot. Yeah. So she goes, oh, God.
I was gonna say, and if we wanted to take out Cindy, like this would be another shot. This would be another opportunity. So again, kind of depending on where we're going, like what's the choose your own adventure here, right? We have Dennis and Ken or whoever standing outside, standing guard, and maybe we just hear a scream from in the bathroom.
It's funny you mentioned that because I have the exact same thing with one addition. So we see her, like, she's in the bathroom, she's leaning on the counter, like looking at herself in the mirror, like, oh my God. So she pulls the shirt off. We get the bloody bra scene, and she looks down, there's brains on her tits, and she's like, oh God. Like undoes the bra and like shakily pulls it off. And then like, she takes like the freaking smock, the employee smock. I couldn't think of the word smock. She takes that and she's like running it under the water and like wiping herself off. And then she puts the the new shirt on. But as soon as she like turns off the water and she looks at herself in the mirror, she sees blood dripping from the ceiling in the corner. And she's like, what the fuck is that? And like goes over, like stands on the toilet and pokes up the ceiling tile. And then we hear the scream.
Yeah. Nice.
So they come running in and maybe Cindy's fucking gone. And they just see the blood on the ceiling and the blood on the floor. And they're like, oh, what the fuck? Is he in the ceiling? Is he in the fucking drop ceiling?
Yeah. And fucking, maybe Ken or somebody is just starts. just starts just shooting the ceiling, just like, oh my god, boom, boom, just shooting wildly like into the ceiling until Dennis, like fucking slaps some sense into him. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're gonna hit somebody. Or it's just like, it's so loud in this small room that Dennis just like, maybe Dennis drops his gun and grabs his ears, and then he just like runs at Ken and like shoulders into him to get him to fucking stop shooting. Like, he tackles him to the ground, and then he's just like, God damn it, like my fucking ears are ringing, I can't hear shit now. You fire a gun in like a tile bathroom, it's like that's gonna fucking pop your eardrums.
Yeah, in spite of what action movies have taught us, if you fire a gun in a car or a closed room like that, especially a tiled room, you're fucked. Like, you are gonna be not hearing for a while. But yeah, so like I like when you said he starts shooting in the ceiling, because that completely changes where I was going with this, but I love it. So he starts shooting. We do the whole scene where Dennis like tackles, like, dude, what the fuck, like, and have Archie see the like point out the blood dripping from the corner, but from the gunshots, like where we see like several holes in the ceiling, blood starts pouring out. So blood's dripping down to the hole. And Archie's like, oh no. And he goes up and he moves, like he stands up on one of the other toilets and moves the drop ceiling. We see Mrs. McDermott like dead, maybe with her throat slit, like laying over the one tile where all the blood was pooling up. And then we see Cindy laying dead over the one that was, that Ken shot.
Yeah.
So maybe she has like a gag in her mouth, and she's tied up to like the I-beams or whatever that are above the drop ceiling, and she got fucking shot by Ken when he panicked. So now it's like, Ken. Fuck. Yeah, exactly. Like, dude, you fucking killed Cindy. So I'm crossing off Cindy, Ralphie, Mrs. McDermott.
Yeah,
they are gone.
Andy and Aunt Jane are already dead. Okay. I didn't really do it on purpose, but I mentioned when Dennis like goes to grab his ears, like he drops his gun. I think it'd be interesting too. Like, Archie's checking in the ceiling and Dennis is in there. At some point Dennis is gonna be like, okay, like we gotta get back to everybody else. Like, we gotta go back and regroup. But he can't find his gun. Like, where did it go? He dropped it on the bathroom floor. I mean, it's like a dark room because the power's out, and like Archie was in there and Ken was there, but like, where the fuck did the gun go? So instead he just takes Ken's gun away from him. But it's just like a little bit of suspicion. Like, maybe it just like slid under the toilet, but like, we don't know.
Yeah. Or we could have him even, let's say, like, because how most, like, picture a Walmart bathroom, how there's that little like tiled hall. There's the hall that's almost like a T shape, where it's like you walk down and then it splits into two sections going to the men's and women's room, and then it goes like into the actual bathroom. So there's like the little hallway and then the two little hallways that split off, and then the bathrooms. So what if, like, they're walking in, like maybe Dennis is right behind Ken, like when he panics and shoots the gun. And, so it's in the even tighter corridor because it's in the little hallway. And that's where Dennis drops his gun. He tackles Ken to the ground. He's like, what the fuck, dude? And when they finally get up and look, he looks behind him and his fucking gun's gone. Someone could have easily slipped in behind them and grabbed it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, perfect. Fuck, where did it go? So I was like, this dude is too quick. Like, what's going on? So now they got to go up front and let the rest of them know that, Mrs. McDermott and Cindy and Ralphie are all dead.
God, like, we're just supposed to, like, go check on the bathroom. What the hell,
Exactly. So we maybe Ted's like, he's sitting there, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, maybe he's, pissed off because he obviously had a crush on Cindy. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're dead. And then they explain the situation, like, oh, Jesus Christ, we got to get out of here. Like, so, Ted's getting a little antsy at this point. And maybe Barbara's like, well, has anyone found Frank yet? Like, what are we going to do? Like, we got to get Frank, because she's still like the wholesome, wanting to keep everyone together. She doesn't think Frank's in on it. And have them be like, I don't know if we want to find Frank. We might want to get out of here before Frank finds us. That kind of, like, Dennis maybe says that. Like, he's planting the seed of suspicion that he thinks it's Frank. So we want to have, like, I'm getting a little tripped up here on what we want to have happen next, because I know we're kind of leading into the home stretch here. So we want to take off a couple other players. So we have Frank is unaccounted for, and in this group we still have Ken, Archie, Ted, Barbara, and Dennis. So
and Bob. What happened to Bob?
Oh, Bob. Yeah, I forgot about Bob. Okay, so don't forget about Bob. What about Bob?
So
Good.
Real quick. So yeah, I think this is a good place to kind of regroup for the audience who's like might be watching this movie, right? Because we just had a bunch of people, we had a couple people get killed. People were in different parts of the store. So yeah, let's have basically everybody who's still alive except for Frank. They're at this, this island. Like again, I've worked in a lot of stores where there's like a circular island in the middle of the store where the cash registers are, or maybe like toward the front, but they're all kind of in one little area. So it's like a little bit of like a safe spot. And I think this would be a good time to like, okay, let's settle down a second, and one thing that we didn't really get into after we had the crowds of customers leave and then try to get back in again is that there's actually other people in the store, or there could be.
Right.
We have all of our named people, and so we could start just bumping off like random like people who were in the store, like what. But as far as our cast of characters, I think this might be a good time to like have a quiet moment, right? Everyone kind of sit down. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Like we got people, crying over here trying to get home. We got dead bodies stacking up. Like we need a plan, man. Archie's like we need a plan, and of course, Dennis is gonna be like, God damn, I hate the fucking holidays. There's always something, And
right?
This is when he's gonna do his like Phoebe Cates speech, and Barbara's like, what's wrong, Dennis? Like everyone loves the holidays, and he's like, seriously, like, and she's like, well, not this year, but like everyone loves Christmas, or whatever.
I love it. I love Barbara's reminding me more and more of my mother as we're talking.
Exactly. And I don't know what Dennis's backstory is. I don't know what the Phoebe Cates like, Santa Claus stuck in the chimney story is, but it's something like that where it's like, there was this one Black Friday, or whatever,
Yeah. We could even have it be something as simple as like, like a car accident or something like right around the holidays. Maybe it wasn't directly tied to Black Friday, but like, when I was little, my dad had to work late. He always had to work extra around the holidays to try to give me and my siblings what we wanted for Christmas. Like he was a hardworking guy, and one day he was, he pulled 2 shifts in a row. He worked a double. He was coming home. The roads were bad, and maybe it is Black Friday. He's like, and some fucking asshole, trying to get to the store before the sales were gone, rear-ended him, and he ended up getting into like a head-on collision with another car, and he died. Something like that, where it's like Black Friday killed my dad.
Okay. I'm gonna twist the knife in deep here, right? So
go for it.
I like this. So and then Barbara or someone's gonna be like, yeah, but like that wasn't your fault. Like it was just an accident. Things happen. And Dennis is like, no, you don't understand. It was my fault. My dad was, he had already done all of his holiday shopping. He always did it early. He would brag about it. He would shop in the summertime and get all the 4th of July sales and have everything done. But there was this new toy that year, and I just had to have it, And so, it was like, I had to have like the, that glow in the dark He-Man or whatever it was, and and then my dad went out on Black Friday that year. I always thought that was so weird because he never went out on Black Friday because he would always get his shopping done early. But then I knew later on when they found him in the car. And that toy was in the shopping bag in the back seat. It's like poor Dennis has been blaming himself his whole life for his dad getting killed to buy him the fucking He-Man or whatever.
Yeah, it'll be like Castle Grayskull or something.
Oh wait, the movie takes place in the '88, so it's gotta be like an early '80s toy. It's gotta be like one of those like G.I. Joes with the Kung Fu action grip or something. But whatever it was like Dennis has been blaming himself all these years that his poor dad got killed going out shopping on Black Friday.
Yep. Oh, I love it. Because it is the same level of cheese as the Phoebe Cates Santa Claus story, where it just grinds the movie to a halt to stick some like sappy bullshit in the middle.
Right.
And I love it. I fucking love it. That's perfect. I love this quiet moment. So now where do you want to go from here? Do we want to kill some of the faceless people off? Like have something crazy happen? Or do we want to start doing small moments again?
No, I think this should be our last kind of quiet moment to kind of regroup, give the audience a chance to like breathe and kind of like lay the land, like, okay, this is who's left. So I think what should happen after this is that in the story, it should be, okay, here's the plan. Like, we're going to go out the back door, out the employee, exit. And if the door is blocked, then we'll go out, like, there's like a maintenance hatch in the ceiling to get up to like air conditioning. And there's this ladder back there. So, like we'll send up, Bob and Archie first with like the guns to like guard it, whatever. They kind of come up with a plan. Like, worst comes to worst, if we can't get out the door, then we'll get on the roof and like, yell for help. So it's a pretty simple plan, but they're all going to kind of stick together. And these faceless other customers who are left, maybe not too many of them, maybe 10 or so, they're going to kind of tag along, and of course they're going to be our fodder. So but between you and I think it's hard to just keep the tension going of like of the whodunit, because we need to figure out who our killer or killers or whatever is. Like, what's the situation? Because at this point I'm afraid to kill anybody because I don't know what your plan is.
Okay, I got it. All right, so let's. I love what you said about having them try to make the plan to go outside, right? So have like, when we see like there's still a group of like faceless fodder with like collected up front, like you said. So maybe even have like Barbara like came over with like a bottle of soda and some red Solo cups or something, is like trying to like give the customers something like, here, have a drink, sweetie, like that kind of thing. Like, so she's being nice. Have Dennis and Archie and Bob be like, all right, we got to go check out back. If the car's out there, if he didn't get to those cars, we have an escape route, and we got to go. Now let's have them. So they go out there to go check. Maybe have like Ted or Ken, one of those, go with them. So we split the group in half, right? So yeah, I think we have Ted, Dennis, Bob, and Archie all go in the back while the rest are up front with the nameless fodder. Maybe have like Archie go to open the door, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, I can't get out the door. And he's like shouldering into it really hard, right? And then we pan outside and we see that snow has been plowed up against the door, like packed in, so they can't get out that way. And I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? And maybe like Dennis is like, well, can we check from the roof? Like, can we go up there and check it out? So like we have them go up the roof hatch. So we see like the little ladder in the back leading up to the roof. Archie gingerly pokes his head out, looks around. No one's on the roof. He looks out back and sees all the snow packed in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, we can't go out the back. Like, they blocked us, and the roof is way too high to fucking jump. So we got to go out the front. So now it's like he could be waiting out there to pick us off. So the whole time they're kind of getting terrified, right?
Real quick, because
go for it.
There should be some faceless, people around. Maybe one or two of these other random people come up on the roof and they just start yelling for help, like, help, somebody help, and then fucking get shot.
Yes, perfect.
Which of course begs the question of like, wait, where did that come from? Like, who just killed these guys? Where our other characters are going to hit the deck and like, okay, so we can't call for help. Like, we got to actually get out of the building somehow.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I wasn't actually thinking that, but that's a good addition. So yeah, like they go up to the roof and they're looking around. It's blustery and windy and like snow is everywhere. And then we have like, fodder 1, fodder 2, yelling out, help, anybody help. And maybe even Archie is like, dude, shut the fuck up. There's a killer on the loose. And then as he's saying that, like one guy gets shot in the shoulder and falls over, and the other guy gets shot in the face. And then the guy's like, oh my God, help me. And they're trying to like drag him back inside. So now we got a guy wounded and we got another guy dead on the roof. They carry him down. They're getting him inside. He's bleeding. He's like, oh my God, what's going on? They go out front, and maybe as they're going up to the front area, because I have this scene in my head that I think would be fucking disturbing and hilarious. We see some of the group is still up there. So like maybe like Barbara, well, it would be what? Barbara and Ken would be the only ones. So yeah, so let's have Barbara be the only one up there at the moment with all the nameless fodder, and have suddenly fucking Molotov cocktail come over one of the shelves and land in the midst of the fodder and just set a shitload of people on fire.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So it's like, some like Boone's Farm kind of booze or something. Just homemade Molotov comes over from the aisle of alcohol. They're just like, holy shit.
Yeah, and of course that'll start a panic, right? Because it'll like light up one or two of them. They're gonna start flailing around, like catch the next person on fire. Maybe they catch like a magazine rack or something on fire, and suddenly now they have this big. Now they have this big like conflagration or whatever, like this big scene. Everyone's kind of panicking. Barbara maybe runs up with like the fire extinguisher, that she grabbed from like the cash registers. But now, like, okay, now maybe as soon as she's done, it's like, okay, but now all the fodder are dead. Not even just the ones who were on fire, but now the other ones are dead too, like just in the chaos.
Right. Oh, that's perfect. And I love the idea that it starts the magazine rack on fire. So now they actually have a fire in the store. So our main cast, we're not going to be able to keep tabs on everyone. Everyone's going to be rushing. Maybe like Bob runs and grabs a fire extinguisher, and and they're like trying to put out the fire, and like several people now, like maybe like one or two of the nameless fodder are severely injured but not dead. So they're like, we got to get these people out of here. We got to get to a hospital. Like they're freaking out. Like, what do we do? And then maybe Dennis is like, where the fuck is Ken? What happened to Ken? So now we're like, oh shit, where did he go? So we want to get a couple people together. We'll do maybe we'll do our whole named cast, except for like let's leave Bob behind with the injured people.
Okay.
Have him watch the people, and then have them. They're asking Barbara, like, where did Ken go? And maybe she's like, he said he had to pee. He went to the bathroom. And they're like, okay, like, what the fuck is up with this kid? So now we're really leaning in on Ken, right? So they go to look in the bathroom, and we find a blood trail. And it's like, oh God, no. So they're like peeking around the corner, and they look around, and we see Frank. He's dead. So it's like, oh fuck! Like Frank's dead. Where's Ken? Like Frank's dead.
Hey, real quick, let me just make a little change, just because we killed Cindy and Mrs. McDermott in the bathroom. So instead of like repeating that, let's have it be and to make Ken seem more like ridiculous. Barbara says something like, oh, he told me he was diabetic and his blood sugar was dropping. He went to go, eat something in the break room, and they're like, what the fuck? Like this guy, like just that way we can kind of like. We can use the break room instead of like the bathroom, but yeah, that's where Frank's been for who knows how long, right? It could have just been recently, or he could have been there the whole fucking time. But yeah, they go and they find Frank's body in the break room.
Dude, I love it because you mentioned the diabetic thing. What if it's something like we set up early on that he has asthma?
Okay.
Like he's constantly hitting his inhaler, and he's like, because he's freaking out, and he's panicking and hyperventilating. So he's like,
oh, that's right. Inhaler. Yeah, hyperventilating. He was doing that earlier.
Yeah, so we do that, and then have Barbara be like they're like, where the fuck is Ken? Like, why didn't he stick? She goes, his inhaler ran out. He ran to the break room to get his backup from his locker. So they're like,
Yeah.
So they go in there, and then instead of them just finding Frank's corpse, what if they see like in the corner of the break room, like back to the door, we see Frank like kind of slumped in a chair. Yeah, and they're like,
for sure.
Frank? Like, is that Frank? Is that you? And they go over, and we do the tried and true horror trope of like Archie grabs him by the shoulder and shakes him, and his fucking head comes off.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're just like, holy shit, it's that whole thing of like the killer sawed their head off and then put it back. I always love it when that happens in slasher movies because
it's so weird.
So many of them do it.
Like they're just playing with it,
Yeah, it's like
just having some fun.
Playing with their food, as it were. So we still don't know where Ken is. So we found Frank. He's dead. Most of the fodder are dead. The only named customer that's left alive is Bob.
Yep.
So we have Archie, Ted, Barbara, Dennis, and Bob, and we don't know where Ken is. So I think we should.
Yeah. Okay.
We should start leading into the end here because I know we got to start wrapping things up soon. So.
Yeah, and as we're going along, like I think that I have zeroed in on somebody that I think makes sense, but is also I think interesting for the story. But like I said, I don't know if it syncs up with you because I don't know that we can go any further is what I'm saying, because I feel like at this point it's either one of us is just going to take the lead and tell the story that we are kind of building in our heads and have the other one just go along with it. Or like we did with our Breakfast Club episode, we just got to be like, okay, it's time. We have to like put the cards on the table and reveal the plan so that we can work out the end game here.
Okay, now okay. Do we want to say it for the audience, or do we want to say this and then cut in?
So for the audience's benefit, we're going to cut it out. We're going to tell each other, and then we're going to go back to the improv. That way, hopefully you listening, if you're still with us and you're still interested, you'll get the ending without having it spoiled before we get to kill the rest of our characters. So edit coming, and then we'll jump right back in.
Well, we're waiting.
Okay, so we have it down. We talked and we know what we're going to do. What's the lay of the land here again, right? So we have this fire that just happened. Barbara and Bob put the fire out. They go and Ken is missing somewhere. They find Frank's body in like the break room.
Hmm.
And we've got Ken again is missing somewhere. We've got Archie, we've got Ted, we've got Barbara, we've got Dennis, and we've got Bob. So let's ramp up to the end game here, right? I think it's time for somebody to just like stop, putting up with some bullshit and take, matters into their own hands. I feel like maybe let's give Bob a chance to shine. Maybe Bob just says like, fuck this to the crowd, and he just walks off. And they're like, "Yo, Bob, get back here, man. Where are you going?" But it's like he just like disappears into the darkness. Like, where the fuck did Bob go? He's a big ass dude. Like it's kind of creepy that he's so big and he just like snuck away.
What if we do something like let's have Bob doing something heroic here? So like you had said, we had the fire and all that with the injured people, and Barbara makes that comment of we got to get these people to a hospital or they're not going to survive. And they know that there's a gunman outside. What if Bob is like, fuck it, I'm going for my truck, and he like runs out the front, like runs across the parking lot, gets in his truck, and as he's driving it toward the front of the store, like maybe like we hear gunshots ringing out, and he's just like, they're panging off his truck, and he crashes his truck into the front windows. Be like, all right, come on, we're gonna get out of here, And like while he's doing that, like we could go one of two ways with this. We could have something happen to stop them from getting in the truck, like maybe the killer reveals themselves, or we could do the tried and true Hollywood trope of the gunshots paying off the truck and fucking explode the gas tank, killing Bob.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because I was thinking almost the same thing. I was going to have Bob like run over to, grab some guns and kind of, and maybe like, Dennis or Archie runs up and tries to stop him, like, "Hey man, where you going?" And Bob just turns and like pulls a gun on him, and they're like, "Yo, Bob, like, what the fuck, man? Like, it was you all along. Like, what the hell?" And he's like, "Nah, like I'm not staying in here. Like, this plan isn't working. Like, I'm getting out of here right now. We're all getting out of here right now." So it's like a little bit of a fake out where Perfect. He was just grabbing the gun because he was going to run. Yeah, he's going to run for the door. He's just going to make a run for it. But when he runs out the door, he's expecting to get shot at. So he just like holds his pistol behind him and he's just shooting as he's running, like,
yeah.
Trying to keep anyone from being able to like take an aim on him. So he's going to hop in the truck. Yeah, pang, pang, pang. I like the idea of him just rushing and smashing in the front door, because then it's going to take away that killer's, part of their plan, because now there might be a way to get out.
Yes.
Because we plowed in the back door. We didn't really see the front door get plowed in, but there's a bunch of like bodies and shit there, right? So
right.
Bob's not really going to be able to like really smash the door and drive all the way into the store. It's going to be like driving up on like a pile of bodies, and like hitting the door and like maybe breaking it down partially, but then he's going to get stuck, like it got stuck in the mud, like it's like a movie trope, but it's like bodies and blood.
Nice. Wheels are spinning, intestines are going.
Yeah, exactly. And have Bob, but like he's gonna go to try to get out of the truck to like, come on, everyone get in, and everyone's like, I guess,
right.
But he's just, come on everyone, come on everybody, and he's still trying to like rock the truck back and forth. It's like this big heroic moment, but maybe he's just like, god damn it, and he like jumps out of the truck. And like, again, we could go a couple of different ways. We could have like the big reveal. We could have something crazy like it fucking blows up, or we could do something like really kind of stupid and just have him like slip on the blood and like break his neck, like just real anticlimactic. Like, fuck, we weren't expecting that.
You know what? Let's combine a bunch of shit right here. Let's get to the reveal. And I think this is the perfect way to do it. So yeah, Bob crashes in, like you just said, and he's like, come on, maybe it's a van, not a truck, because he's gonna, people jump in a flatbed, they're gonna be open fodder for whoever the gunman is. So like he's like, come on guys, get in the back of the van, like, and it's like total 80s van with like a stallion airbrushed on the side of it,
Of course. Yes.
So like people start like, running toward the truck, or like, maybe like Barbara's helping like the burned people, like trying to get them in, and he's like, we're getting out of here. We're fucking getting out of here. And like, maybe, Bob has his head leaned out the truck and he's yelling, like he's holding his gun, he's waving people on, and then he gets fucking shot, and like, maybe he doesn't get dead right away. He just gets shot. He's like, what the fuck, and then we turn the camera and we see Ken standing in the store holding a fucking rifle, and now he's like full of confidence and vigor. He's standing, he's like, you guys aren't going anywhere. No one's getting out of here alive. And then have like maybe more gunshots start coming down from the roof. So people have to rush back inside. They're like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And then this is where we get our villain speech. Like we find out that, Ken was in on this the whole time, and we could even do a thing. Like we could do a montage of showing back where Ken first found bodies and having him like do the freak out thing. And like, as soon as like he's done freaking out and people are like, oh my God. Like, and they leave him alone for a second. We see like a little smirk. Like shit like that, and have like maybe Bob gets killed here from the rain of gunfire coming down from the roof, and then have Ken like hold up a walkie-talkie and be like, all right, game on, something like that, and have Ted come down and he's got the other gun. And it's just basically they reveal like, yeah, we're in on this. And this is where we get our big, I don't know if you want to do the killer speech thing that we kind of talked about, but yeah, so we have them reveal themselves here.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is good too. And so we just lost Bob, but we still have Archie, Barbara, and Dennis now, right? So there's 3 people left. Okay, so yeah, exactly. So I feel like Archie at this point is just like fed up with this bullshit, just like kind of like Bob was a little while ago. So I think maybe before Ken has a chance to say anything, maybe Archie is just like, fuck you, little man, and he's just gonna go for him, gonna go for Ken. Ken's got this rifle, and I think this is a good chance for us to show how Ken's demeanor is different, because he's just gonna like level this rifle like there isn't this 6-foot huge guy coming at him right now, and he's just gonna take careful aim and just blast Archie in the knee, not kill him right away. He's just gonna take him down, right? And then he's gonna like cock that gun, like pop the shell out, walk up to Archie. He's gonna put the muzzle against his head and being like, oh, it's just something real fucking condescending. Oh, big man, so tough, and
yeah. Something like, who's the little man now, bitch? Something like.
Exactly, right. And then this would be a good time for him to radio like on this little walkie, like, all right, man, like the game's up, come on down. And of course Barbara and Dennis are like, what the fuck are you talking about? And of course, who's the one who's not there? It's fucking Ted. And maybe like a ceiling tile pops out and there's like a little like rope ladder and Ted jumps down, like, oh, you fucking crafty little bastard, like no wonder you were getting around all sneaky, running through the fucking ceiling with your little like rope ladder,
Yep.
So Ken's gonna give that his little speech, but I think it'd be more fun when Ted jumps down. It's like, oh fuck yeah, dude, that's so fucking cool, Archie. Goddamn, that's gonna hurt, boy. And it's like Ted's just real fucking excited, and of course Dennis is gonna be like, you motherfucker, like you put Ken up to this, man. Like what the hell? You've been the brains behind this. Like I didn't think you had it in you, Ted. And Ted's like, me? You think I'm smart enough to pull this off? Like my man Ken's a fucking crafty motherfucker.
And I like when you would like, oh shit, Archie, you're like have him stick his finger in the bullet wound and be like, look at this is gross, and have Archie just screaming.
Oh god,
yeah. And then so like you said, like Dennis is like, dude, what the fuck, like you put him up to this, and he's like, oh no, this is all Ken's idea, I just think it's fun. And have that, this is where we do the big reveal of like, why, what is your motive, and they're just like, there's no motive, this is just fun. And like really fucking psychopaths. Like the whole reason they're doing this is because their holiday was let's fucking murder a bunch of people.
Yeah, and maybe Dennis is gonna ask him that, like, what the hell, Ken, like this is fun. He's just like, yeah, why not? Like, aren't we having a good time? This shit doesn't happen. Like, this doesn't happen every day. And it's like they call it Black Friday and it's not even fun anymore or whatever. He says something like, they call it Black Friday. I thought we'd make it real dark, And it's like,
yes, that's perfect.
But Ken is just like messed up. Like he didn't need it. He wasn't getting revenge and he didn't have some like crazy backstory. He's just like, nah, man, this was fun. Like I saw they were hiring and I thought, this would be perfect. Like nobody knows me here, or whatever, and he's like, all I needed was my buddy Ted to put my cousin Ted to put a good word in for me. And Barbara's like, wait, your cousin? What? Ted's like, yeah, dude, like this is my fucking creepy little cousin. He used to hang out. He used to like always be trying to hit on my sister. So gross, like,
right. Yes. And then maybe have Ken just be like, dude, shut up. We talked about this.
Exactly. And it's like they're just having way too good of a time. But this is when Archie, while they're giving the villain speech and they're distracted, Archie's just gonna grab him by Ken by the belt buckle and just like pull him to the ground and like tackle on top of him. Like, he's bleeding and he's hurting, but he's gonna just try something just enough to kind of to throw him off. So he's gonna be able to pull Ken down. And this is right when Dennis, who's still armed, Dennis is gonna maybe go for Ted. So we could have a little bit of a shootout, like maybe Ted and Dennis are having a little bit of a shootout while Ken and Archie are struggling on the floor. I'm not sure about Barbara. Do you think she would get in on a fight like this, or is she gonna try something else?
I think I love where you're going with this, but let's reconfigure the chess pieces a little bit. So we had Ted poke his finger in Archie's like bullet wound, like ha ha ha, like he's like fucking around, while Ken is like eyeball. He knows Dennis is the threat. Dennis is the one that, is clearly going to fight back if things go sideways. So Ken's keeping his eye on Dennis while they're giving their little speech, and have Archie, like you said, instead of grabbing Ken, have him grab Dennis and pull him down and like grab him around the throat. Like he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill him. I'm gonna and then Ken, level his gun at Archie, be like, don't you fucking do it. Have Dennis jump up with his gun, and have Ken just spin back and fire, and have Dennis have to drop down behind the counter. You hear Archie screaming, Ted screaming, Dennis is hiding, and then have Ken, like, we're getting the point of view of Dennis. We have Ken being like, Dennis, come out from your hiding spot. And he like peeks his head up, and he's got Barbara, and he's got a gun up to her.
Oh, yeah.
So he grabbed her. And, so now he's got a hostage. So Archie's got a hostage. He's got a hostage. And I want to give Barbara a moment to shine. This is why I wanted her to be a victim, or like a perceived victim here.
Yeah, I think so. If you're cool with it, I think we could maybe take Archie and Ted off the table right here, because I feel like with Archie bleeding out, Ted like fighting with him, they're grappling on the ground. He's not really going to be able to get involved in this like showdown too much. I think it would be fun if Archie is just like, like, fuck it, man, we lose, but I'm taking your dumb ass with me, and have him just start bashing Ted's fucking head on the floor just over and over and over and over. And of course Ken doesn't even care anymore. Ken's just beady, unblinking eyes right on Dennis, like they're in this like showdown, while Archie is just like, I'm taking one of you little bastards with me.
Yes. I love it. So yeah, so we have the chaos happening. Like Archie is just fucking murdering Ted.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ken gives no fucks. He's eyeballing Dennis. He's got Barbara like with a gun to her head. Dennis comes up and he's like, drop the gun. And Archie's like, don't do it. Don't fucking do it. We got him. He's like,
yeah, exactly.
We're fighting back. And then, have Dennis put the gun. He's like, Barbara, don't worry. I'm not going to let you get killed. And have Ken be like, oh, it's so sweet that you think something like that. But I want to have Barbara, like I said, get her little comeuppance here. So maybe she does a thing like she has like her employee keys in her smock. And okay. she has her hand, like we see like a close up of her like gripping the keys in her hand, like she got her hand in her smock. And Ken's giving his little villain speech about how none of you are making it out of here alive. You're all gonna fucking die. It's like I didn't spend weeks planning this for nothing. And have him like he's giving a speech, and have her swing her keys up behind him and stab him in the fucking eye. Be like, oh my god, you fucking bitch! Like have him freaking out. Nice. And then Archie goes to grab his gun, and Dennis grabs the gun and fucking shoot. I don't know if do we want to kill Archie? Because someone else has to die.
So. No, okay. I don't know. I'm kind of okay with Archie and Dennis and Barbara all living at this point. Like I think taking Ted out was kind of the fun part.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Archie just like let the black guy live in the whole movie. We already did all the other 80s stereotypes.
Let's have him get shot. I want to make it look like it's just down to Ken and Dennis and like Barbara. So like have him Archie go to grab the gun, and Ken's like, fuck you, and he fires, and we see Archie get hit, but he doesn't get hit in a vital spot. Like maybe he gets hit in like the right shoulder or something and flies back, and he's like laying there bleeding. Dennis goes to grab his gun. Ken turns and starts shooting at him. Now the two of them are kind of in like a fucking firefight. And like maybe Barbara's the one to save the day. Like Barbara scurries into the aisles like trying to get away. Dennis is pinned down. Ken's like holding the gun. Like they're arguing back and forth. And maybe we go back to the POV shot that we saw at the beginning that was Barbara's POV, and have her like coming up behind Ken and fucking stab him with a butcher knife or something like that she grabbed from like housewares.
Yeah. Okay. So I love this. I think we need to set up two like quick like Chekhov's guns. If we could retroactively go back in our script here, right? I think first of all, when Barbara first gets to the store at the very beginning, that whole sequence where we have like the fake out scare with like the crowd of customers who are trying to like get in the back door, and like Archie comes out and saves her. At that scene, when she sees those customers coming, like even before she gets out of her car, you see her put her keys between her fingers like claws. Like this is something that she does, you know, as a woman, you know, working late at night, you know, she before she gets out of the car, she makes her keys into a little weapon. That way when we see it later on, it's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, she's gonna do that again. And at the same time, like we need to give her a weapon, something that we saw earlier in the movie that would be a really cool weapon to finally, you know, kill Ken, that would just be like available to her. And it would be funny if it was a Christmas decoration, you know, like like a bunch of like big like light up icicles that were hung on a string or something, or you know, something from like the Christmas tree, but something to kind of tie back into the beginning scene again when they were decorating the store, something that where she could grab and then, you know, like, ho, motherfucker, and like, you know, take Ken out with, you know, some ridiculous Christmas decoration.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I like that. So remember, we talked about the Christmas tree being kind of like in the center of the store that they were setting up. So like, yeah, we could have something like that, like an icicle decoration or something that would be hanging on the tree, or maybe like one of those like the long spindly glass ornaments, you know, that were very big in the 80s, where they looked like, you know, they were gonna explode at any moment because they were just like all shrapnel-y looking. Maybe she grabs one of those and fucking stabs him in the eye or something like that.
Or it could be like they were going to set up like the little Santa's village for like when Santa is going to come and have the kids sit on his lap. So, you know, they were just setting it up. And it could be as simple as like there's this big oversized candy cane, like a big one, like, you know, 4 feet tall, made of like plastic or wood or something. And I can see Barbara at this point, who's so chipper and so happy and she loves the holidays. And this Ken dude is just like terrorizing and ruining everything. At this point, she just grabs that giant candy cane and she's just screaming like, ah, you motherfucker, and just beating him and beating him and beating him.
Yes!
Like she just loses it, like, you know, like, you ruined my goddamn holiday. You know?
Oh, dude, I like that. That is the best. Okay, that is way better than anything I had planned. I fucking love that. So yes, so we get the whatchamacallit, the standoff between Dennis and Ken. Like they're both kind of like drawing their guns on each other. Archie's bleeding on the floor. We don't know if he's alive. We cut back to the POV shot that we open the movie with, and this is the big fucking candy cane, like you said, and she just starts beating the ever-loving fuck out of him. You know, he's bleeding all over the place. He's dropped his gun. His face is all swollen and fuck. And she's just like using every curse you can imagine. Like, fucking cocksucker, cunt, licking motherfucker. Just like screaming and beating him. And like have Dennis like slowly peek up and be like, holy shit. You know, be like, Barbara, he's dead. He's dead. Like his brains are leaking out on the floor. Just like he's fucking dead. And have her just be like, oh my god, did I do that? Like, just like she blacked out and went into a rage, you know,
like Ralphie beating up Scott Farkas, right?
Right, exactly.
Razz him, no good, you know.
Oh, dude, then instead of her actually swearing, have her do that. Just be like, you razzin', no good, friggin' frackle. Just.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
She could end it with like duty head, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Dennis comes over and like maybe he grabs the giant candy cane, you know, which is perfect too because it harkens back to the cookie that she gave, you know, Ted that he tried to like, you know, be stupid with. But yeah, Dennis comes over and grabs it. He's like, it's okay, she's dead, or he's dead. And you know, she's gonna kind of come to her senses and like come back and like, oh my god. And then, you know, now it's like, okay, the human emotion's gonna kick in and they're gonna hug, and, you know, Dennis is gonna, you know, comfort her and she's gonna comfort him right back, and, you know, they're gonna kind of like do that like arm in arm, like walk out the store. But then at the last minute you see like Archie lift his hand up and they're like, oh my god, you know.
We should have like, yeah, like she, you know, he gets her to get rid of the candy cane and she hugs him and they're embraced and he's like, all right, we got to get out of here, you know. And then we just hear, little help. You know? And they're like, holy shit, Archie, you're still alive. He's like, this hurts like a bitch, you know. And he's just like shoulders bleeding, knees bleeding, and like maybe we do the thing where it's like, credits roll as we see like the sirens, like flashing lights coming in the distance. Like clearly someone would have heard all the gunshots and reported, but there was such a snowstorm, it took them all night to get there. And we see like, the credits are rolling as the cops are like coming into the store, like all freaked out. And we see like the bloody group of Dennis, Archie, and Barbara just like sitting there waiting for the help. And and of course the music would be something like, Silent Night, like something all somber and or we could go the other way and Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, which either one.
No, I think we go a little bit somber. We go, Silent Night, Holy Night. Well, we kind of like let the movie end on this quiet moment. They could even be like a little bit of a slow motion shot as you're just seeing like, cops jump through the front door, and you see all the lights and sirens outside, and Dennis and Barbara just kind of, they look at each other and they look over, and you see there's like paramedics running over, to Archie, and then maybe Dennis, who's been grumpy this whole time, maybe Barbara just like reaches down, and then she picks up one of her little Christmas cookies that was on the floor, and hands it to Dennis, and then for the first time in the whole movie, Dennis just smiles and fade to black.
It takes a bite of the cookie, and then fade to black. Perfect.
Yeah,
dude, this was fun. I had fun with this. I didn't expect it to be this fun.
Yeah, this was good. Yeah, it ran a little bit long because we were kind of going around in circles trying not to fight each other on the storytelling at a certain point. So we did finally just have to give in. But yeah, it was fun. And I really liked the fact that like I didn't know who the killer was. You didn't know who the killer was. We just made all this shit up on the spot.
I'll be honest. When we were initially coming up with the characters, the first person I had in my head was Frank, because I was like, oh, what if the manager finally cracked under all the pressure of all these Black Fridays, and he was just like, fuck it, I'm done, But then I'm really happy with where it ended up, because like as we told the story, like the killer kept shifting for me. I kept going like, oh, maybe it's gonna be this guy. Oh, maybe it's gonna be this guy. And I'm glad we're where we finally landed, because I like the idea of a killer that doesn't really have a motive other than I just want to have this experience. Like that is terrifying to me, because that's so inhuman.
I didn't originally have someone in mind when we were, coming up with names and stuff. I definitely thought that, Frank was definitely like a possibility. But then I think Ralphie and Randy were like my early picks, but then we decided to kill them in kind of a funny way. So I was like, fuck it. We'll just roll with the punches after that, just because, we ultimately, I think we both independently decided to go the Scream route and have the two killers, because that was something that you had wanted to do. And, when we edited it out to talk about it, I was like, I was thinking like Ralphie and Randy. And then I was kind of rolling with the punches, and it could be, I think we both kind of thought that Ted was a good choice, but, going with Ken, I think that's what's clinched it. And I think that's what it would make for a good twist for anyone actually watching the movie, because there's this whole performance where, hell, even I earlier on was like, oh, it can't be Ken because Ken was the one who found these bodies. But by allowing Ted to be like the hired gun, and then Ken can kind of put on this whole performance, like you can immediately just eliminate him as any kind of a suspect, which makes it perfect, right?
Absolutely,
when he is. So yeah, this was a lot of fun.
One of the things I want to point out is very, very, very few slasher movies use guns, because again, slasher, you think a pointed implement, but it's always a breath of fresh air when it happens, because it's so realistic. Like that's one of those things that like most people, if they're going to murder somebody, a lot of people use a fucking gun. So it's like when like Art the Clown pulled it out in the first Terrifier, I was like, oh shit, look at that. And I know like Mick in the fucking oh my God, why can't I think of the fucking name now? Those Australian horror movies. Damn it. Wolf Creek, thank you. I know he uses a rifle, but it's like it's so rare. So to have like the killers completely relying mostly on guns, I thought that was a really fun way to go about it. So
I wanted to talk a little bit about the real Thanksgiving movie that Eli Roth made, and the connection to Black Friday, and how that kind of like shifted our plans a little bit. But you know what? We'll just hang on to that for our year in review, which we'll do probably after Christmas. I definitely want to have an episode where we kind of go through like all of our facts and figures, and kind of look back and make some comments and things like. So we'll save it for then. But in the meantime, check us out at raisebyrentals.com or at raisebyrentals on all the socials, and also radpantheon.com and at Pantheon for the super team of podcasters, artists, musicians, all sorts of creative friends supporting each other and helping to spread the word about rad stuff. So if you like this show and you had a good time, go check out some more of our friends at radpantheon.com. Got anything you want to close out with, Mike?
No, just check out the Boogeyman's Closet and Count Creepyhead Saturday Morning Monster Mash. Both are available on Rad Pantheon. So those are the other two podcasts I'm involved with, and we have a lot of holiday fun coming up. So check those out.
Definitely. And thanks to everyone for tuning in to the Raise My Rentals program again. If you had fun with us, drop us a line, visit us on the socials, leave a comment, leave a podcast rating, and of course, tell us what you think we should improve next time. And with that, I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
And we have to return some videotapes. Raised by Rentals is a member of the Rad Pantheon Network. Visit radpantheon.com to support rad stuff. The theme music is Forbidden Fruit by Velvet Bethany. You can purchase music and learn more at velvetbethany.com.
Happy Black Friday.